Phillip Island is one of the world's great racetracks, and this weekend made even more spectacular by some of the world's best GT cars. Hi everyone, welcome to the Phillip Island Grand Prix Circuit and the SRO GT Festival for 2024. It has been a spectacular weekend already, and two great races coming your way today. There's a terrific vibe here, a DJ on the grid, lots of colour, lots of glamour, and some really cool racing cars and drivers, and chance of weather as well. It wouldn't be Phillip Island without a little bit of drama in the weather department, and there is a high chance of rain for later on this afternoon, but terrific conditions. I'm Richard Crah, with me in the commentary box, Garth Tander, Jonathan Simon and Cameron Vanderducken covering our pit lane action for you today. We're counting down to Monochrome GT4 Australia. They're going to kick us off with a 1 hour race, and to kick us off on the grid, let's go down and say good day to Cam.
Good morning, Krause. Good morning, GT. I'm actually here at pole position at the moment. Rylan Gray on board. Rylan, last minute 25 kilos added to the car yesterday. You're carrying that again today, but I dare say you've been able to set up a bit better with a little bit more time on that extra weight.
Yeah, definitely. Obviously, the call yesterday to get 25 kilos made the car a bit unsettled in the race, but the team was all over it overnight. So, yeah, looking forward to this race and getting out front and just put my head down.
Now, mate, we've got DJs playing down here, massive grid packed with people. The atmosphere around the Monochrome GT4 just continues to grow, doesn't it?
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see the series grow. You know, I had the DJ here on pole position, so a bit of pre-race music, so it was good.
Before I jump over to Jonathan, I'm going to leave you 2 seconds. George Miedeke. So Miedeke Motorsports, the team. George, I'm going to grab you really quickly. I've got you standing around here, mate. Big day today. You didn't get the result yesterday. You confident for today?
Yeah, absolutely. How good's the vibe down here for the GT Festival? Pretty awesome having DJs on the grid and the grid walk and everything. But as you say, we didn't quite get the result we wanted yesterday. The BOP adjustment really knocked the car around a bit, but we've had our time to actually set the car up for that now, and we feel like we've got a good machine, so we'll leave it to Rylan and I'll get in halfway.
Good luck for the race.
Thanks, mate.
I'm over here on the other side of the front row, the Central West Prestige BMW M4 of Tim Leahy. Tim, your chances today for this one?
Yeah, we had a pretty good day yesterday. We had to work hard for it in the end, but today we've still got the same objectives. So off the front row, we'll, I guess, hopefully get a good start and then take it from there.
Good luck, mate. I'm being rushed off the grid, so I better head out. Best of luck.
Jonathan down there with Cam Vanderducken. So the grid is clear. The grid is clear. Jonathan Simon down there with Cody Bircher, who will start the BMW off the front row of the grid. So Tim Leahy, the Mayor of Orange, to jump in the second half of the race. And you heard from George Miedeke about yesterday, where they finished fourth in the race, I should say, which avoids them any pit stop time. Garth Tander's alongside me to walk us through these next two races, starting with Monochrome GT4. Garth, a ripper race yesterday. This was entertaining from the outset. Over an hour, it was full of drama, battles throughout the field, and the class fights were just as good as the one for the outright win.
Yeah, it certainly was, and you're right, Rich. There was battles all through the field for all of the categories, and Ryder Quinn was very fast early in his BMW, took the lead from George Miedeke, and we heard from George on the grid ahead of this one. That car had 25 kilos added just before yesterday's race. This was a big moment early in the race for Steve Jukes in his Audi. A moment at turn one. You don't have a small moment at turn one. Luckily, Steve was okay, and we hope to have that car on the grid in today's race. Pit stops through the pit stop window, and various cars had various compensation times, but this battle for the lead, Oscar Target, Antonio Astudi and Cody Bircher, three young guys driving three very different race cars going at it at Phillip Island, was great to watch. And the battle between Bircher and Astudi, Bircher in the BMW, Antonio Astudi in the Mercedes, was really good to watch. And then this move, Rich, around the outside, north of 260k an hour at turn one at Phillip Island for the race lead. You do not see that often, that working successfully, and Bircher was able to get the job done. And he went on to have success later in this one.
Yeah, the McLaren was working its way through late in the race as well. Tom Heyman was charging on. Marcus Flack started that car. That was for third place in the end, so just worked his way past young Oscar Target in the Ginetta. But it was a win for the BMW and a terrific drive, anchored by Tim Leahy at the start, brought home by the young gun Cody Bircher, who will start this one from the front row of the grid. So the grid for race two set off the qualifying 2 times, so it's not indicative of where they finished yesterday's race. The This is a terrific place to go car racing. It's one of the world's most iconic circuits we know. We love it. 4.46 Ks, 12 turns, some of the most iconic names like the Southern Loop, like Honda, like Siberia, and then that run past the Hayshed and up over Lukey Heights before they plunge down 20-odd metres down the cliff into MG, and then that flat-out run through 11 and 12. On to the Wayne Gardner front straight, heading due south towards Tassie. And that is the view over this incredible racetrack. Great crowd here this weekend as we confirm the grid for race 2 in Monochrome GT4 Australia. It's round 4 of the championship. Ford Mustang on pole, BMW M4 on the outside of the front row. And check the manufacturers. So McLaren in the mix. Mercedes AMG had their strongest weekend of the year yesterday, and Oscar Target's got the Ginetta flying. The Pro-Am class pole going the way of Shane Smolin and Lockie Manif in the Porsche. They won their class yesterday in a really entertaining battle towards the end, and the Am class pole goes to Anthony Levitt in the second of the Method Motorsport McLarens. He won on debut his first start in GT4 competition yesterday and got the win. Some great names on the grid. John Bowe will share the Randall Racing BMW with Jacob Lawrence. Jacob will start that car out of 10th. Mark Griffith is next. The father and son combo, Nash and Paul Morris, had a really good run in Pro-Am yesterday and finished second. They go out of 12. Watch for rider Quinn and Steve Jakic. They start out of 14th. Steve will start that car. Ryder will bring it home at the end. So that BMW we expect to be very quick, and down to Jamie Augustine and Peter Lawrence, who had Penalty City yesterday with a whole range of infringement. So they will go right off the back of the grid. And confirmation, Garth, that Audi unfortunately will not take the start in this race today after that incident at turn 1.
It's a shame for Steve Jukes, but hopefully he can return for the next event. The thing that got my attention there, Rich, was 5 different manufacturers in the top 5, 6 manufacturers in the top 7. So incredibly close between the different car manufacturers, different styles of cars. You've got 2 GT cars effectively in the Grand Touring sense on the front row with the Mustang and the M4 BMW, but then the AMG Mercedes, the McLaren, so mid-engine, the Ginetta, which is a cottage industry car out of the UK that surprisingly has a Chev engine in the front of it. So, and then the traditional Porsche out of 7th of Shane Smolin. So lots of different manufacturers, lots of different styles of cars, but they all find themselves towards the front of the grid.
Bright sunshine on the racetrack, but dark clouds all around, just on 17.5 degrees at the moment. So beautiful conditions for motor racing, but everyone will be looking skywards. Race 2, the clock will start when they get the green light. And 1 hour of racing in Monochrome GT4 Australia with BMW and Ford on the front row. And the Ford, with all that torque, launches away from pole position, and young Rylan Gray, who many people tout highly as the star of our racing future, will lead the field into turn 1. Birch has got Tom Heyman looking up the inside in the McLaren. So the BMW under pressure, but he'll slide into second place. Target getting ground early in the Ginetta. He's 4th. And Jake Camilleri's up a spot in that black Mercedes AMG. He's next. Slow start for Antonio Astudi. He's in that red Mercedes AMG. Already dropped several spots.
Certainly has, but great start by Rylan Gray. Was able to get the launch and lead down into turn 1 comfortably. Bircher was having to defend around the outside of Heyman, who was trying to get up the inside at 1. Now as they all plunge down into turn 4, and there's actually one of the cars taking a long lap and looks like it might have an issue. Is that Astudi? So he's off in the runoff area down at turn 4. It looks like he's able to reset the car and get going again. So potentially a bit of a clue as to why Astudi was slow off the line, having a drama down at turn 4. Hopefully we can find out what that was, but no dramas for our leader, Rylan Gray. He has taken off. So this team, 4th yesterday, and look how much speed he has got. Heyman trying to get around the outside of Bircher here. And if he can stay up the inside here into turn 11.
It's going to work, Garth.
Well, will it work? Bircher's trying to hang around the outside, but you're going to have to sort it out before the final corner, and Bircher does. Looks like the McLaren had a bit of an issue there, launching off the second last corner, and Oscar Target didn't need a second invitation. He gets up the inside, so plenty going on in this first lap.
Side by side across the line for 3rd place. The young Porsche Junior driving a Ginetta this weekend will go side by side with Tom Heyman. I thought that move was done at 11, but was just squeezed down a little bit, and then, yeah, struggled for drive out of the corner, and now loses that spot to Oscar Target, who squeezes through. This is the first weekend racing in Australia for that Janetta G56. Contact on the exit of the Southern Loop, little hip and shoulder there, and Heyman will get that spot back.
So it looked like Target had a little bobble in the mid-corner at 2. Heyman saw the opportunity and turned a 3/4 hole into a full-size hole and got his McLaren up the inside on the exit. But the opening lap from Ryland Gray, seriously impressive. He was gone to the tune of 1.5 seconds. Bircher now starting the fight back as Heyman and Target argue over the final step on the podium. It's still a long way to go, but big. I saw smoke leaving turn 2, and I wonder what that was, and it's coming from our leader, Ryland Gray. So the Madeki Motorsport Mustang, some sort of issue for that car when it's leaving a corner, because at the moment I'm looking from our vantage point, it's not smoking when it's mid-corner, but then as it leaves the corner,
sort of off throttle, isn't it?
Turn 2, Siberia, heavy smoke coming from that car.
Yeah, it's coming from underneath too, Garth.
So is that gearbox? Is it differential? It's something that obviously Ryland's probably unaware of. Team will be seeing the same pictures we're seeing, so they're aware of something.
Oh, it's visibly getting worse.
Yeah. So Motorsport Australia Race Control will be watching that too to see if there's actually any fluid dripping onto the racing surface.
And if they get the meatball flag for that, they've got to serve it immediately. They will need to pit within 1 lap. They were told about that in driver's briefing. There's a huge battle back going on behind the field. They're at 6 wide for 8th through about 15th, but we'll get our team in the lane onto what's going on with that Ford. It was a solid day for them yesterday from a points point of view, because they actually extended their lead in the championship. What they also did by finishing off the podium was save themselves some penalty in the pit stop time. So it was actually quite a productive day, and knowing they were going to start from pole today, it put them in a really good spot. All that will be for naught if the car's got a mechanical drama. Cameron.
Well, the first of the stories you asked me to follow up is Antonio Astudi, so I thought I'd get Sam Brabham. Sam, what's happened off the start and down at turn 4?
He was reporting a warning on the dash that essentially gives him a limited amount of power. So at the start, he got swamped, and we thought, I wonder what's happened there, and he was causing loss of power. So he stopped at turn 4, reset the car. He set the fastest final sector, so hopefully he's back up and running. But it's a shame because he qualified really well in 4th, and yesterday after a podium finish was a huge result. So hopefully we can pray for a safety car and bring us back up closer to the pack, and we can press on. So
good luck, Sam.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks, Cameron. Busy time in the lane for our team down there chasing the stories in the first 5 minutes and 45 seconds of this 1 hour race. The Mustang continuing to trail smoke.
It's getting worse now, Rich.
And no sign of a flag, but Bircher is drawing closer as well and sets the quickest lap of the race last time by in the BMW, the margin 1 second. We're watching back a little bit to Mark Griffith, who's got Paul Morris behind him. And these two last time by, in fact, these three, with Tony Levitt in that green, white and yellow McLaren Artura, all across the line side by side. So there's a pretty furious battle going on for the lead in the AM and Pro-Am classes. We'll follow that story of the Ford Mustang for you, though. It was a solid day yesterday, but they need to consolidate on that in a championship so close, and one that is only getting more and more competitive as this season goes on.
So hearing from Sam Brabham from the 27 AMG Mercedes that was heads-up driving by Antonio Studi. The car was effectively in limp mode, so he did have to reset it. So putting it down in that runoff area at turn 4, really smart. Got himself out of the way without going too far off the racetrack. We continue to monitor our race leader, Ryland Gray, one of the Randall Motorsport BMWs in the lane.
Left front tyre going on that car, and that's the opposite side to where all of the drama's been this weekend.
So I wonder whether there was some contact that may be involved with the 32 car. That team goes to work to change a tyre.
It's been a tough weekend for that BMW team. The sister car had a whole array of dramas in yesterday's race. So Bircher to the back now of the race leader. Race control letting it go at the moment. Clearly they've judged that it's not leaving oil on the racetrack, but I'm basically surprised if it is. Jonathan?
Well, I spoke to the team at the Midiki Motor Group with Lubrimax Mustang, and they said they're unaware what the issue is. They tried a little bit of the oil down in pit lane and tested it. They said they're still unaware what the problem is. For now, though, they say the issue's cleared, and they're going to allow the car to keep running for the rest of this race.
Well, they will let the car keep running for the rest of the race, but it may get taken out of their hands if Motorsport Australia Race Control decide that it is causing or dropping oil you often wonder, you know, overnight cars get serviced, they sometimes top up fluids, whether it be the gearbox, the diff or the engine, and sometimes if you overfill, it does go into a breather, and maybe that's potentially what's going on, because it seems quite random to happen so early in the race where we don't have any temperature. Maybe Cam has more.
Yeah, guys, just down here with the John Lawrence and John Bow car. You can see me here shortly, just getting out of the car. It's being put away. What's happened?
Yeah, just miscalculation into MG. Thought I'd have it, but I'm not sure. I'll have to look at the video, but perhaps I broke myself and collided with Zoe Woods, unfortunately. So not happy with myself, but I don't know. We'll see what's going on.
Just quickly, sorry to grab the mic out of the way. We're about to get run over. JB, mate, a little bit different to Queensland Raceway, different end to the weekend.
Yeah, it is, mate. We had a really good run yesterday, and Jacob drove great, you know. So, I mean, it's motor racing. Things happen. As soon as it's like Jaws, the movie, you know, as soon as you think it's safe to get back in the water, it's not. So, just one of those things. It's a great little team, and I'm having a ball, but this is disappointing.
Thanks, JB.
Thank you, mate. Time.
Thanks to Cam van der Dungen for that, and confirmation from Motorsport Australia Race Control that mechanical black flag will be shown to car 35, Ryland Gray, the race leader. So they've clearly had enough now of the oil trailing from that car, so they will be in the lane very shortly to address that. Meanwhile, battle packs going on through the field. Recovery drive for Antonio Astudi will go down the inside of Anthony Levitt at turn 1. They're in different races, so smart driving from Levitt. Doesn't need to fight that in class racing. And Mark Griffith will be the next target in that very similar Mercedes AMG. So solid comeback so far. Astudi to drop right to the very back of the field. He's up to 10th with good pace, and looking forward to seeing what he and Sam Brabham can make of the second half of this race. It's been cool to have the Brabhams here, father and son racing. David will pop up at some point in this race and have a little chat as well, which will be cool.
So Mark Griffith currently leading the AM class in his AMG GT4 Mercedes, and Antonio Astudi trying to get right around the outside. So Mark Griffith not quite being as accommodating as Tony Levitt was down the front straight to Astudi, but nice fight back so far for Astudi, getting himself to the tail of the top 10 as he continues this fight back. And here comes Ryland Gray to the lane in his number 35 Mustang. So mechanical black flag, you have to report to pit lane. The team will go to work, but I'm not too sure, Rich, what they can do in the short term to actually turn this issue around and get them back out and remain on the lead lap.
Nice contact between the two Mercs on the outside of 11, and the over-under is going to work for Astudi here. He'll get that car up the inside of Mark Griffith and get that position away, but it's taken about 3Ks longer than perhaps he'd expected. That clears him now of Griffo, moves into 8th position as the Mustang gets down to the Media Key garage, and we can go to Jonathan.
Yeah, heartbreak for these guys. I spoke to them again about what the issue is. They said that's what they're inspecting here on the right-hand side. They're trying to figure out whether it is oil leaking from the bottom. They're going to have a look, but this is incredibly heartbreaking for a car which had so much promise today. George Miedeke also watching on in the Miedeke Motor Group, the Lubrimax Mustang, and unfortunately this could be their weekend's chances done.
Well, in a 1 hour race, unfortunately, you go down a lap, your day is pretty much over, but they'll need to get that car back out and try and salvage some championship points ideally. As we touched on earlier, it was a good points day for them yesterday, but they need to capitalise on that today going into the final couple of rounds of the championship. This battle pack on the left of screen continues on as well, with Zoe Woods having a really big crack at Anthony Levitt in the number 24 McLaren. Zoe had a brilliant drive yesterday, and there was some good banter between she and Paul Morris yesterday. So Paul is Zoe's driver coach at the Norwell Motorplex, and Paul was simultaneously proud that she made a big lunge down at the inside of the hairpin, angry at himself for leaving the door open, and surprised that it happened in the first place. So there were a lot of emotions going on down there, but they had a really good day. And the TechWorks Motorsport Porsche, they've got a new model Cayman 718 coming their way for the next round of the championship. So that'll be a little upgrade for Zoe and young Tom McLennan, who's sharing the driving duties this weekend.
Yep, I really enjoyed that battle yesterday. And I love the fact that Zoe Woods didn't care that it was her driver coach in front who's going to send it down the inside of turn 4. It was a great move, really, really strong move. So nice job there. There's the battle for the lead of the AM class between Griffith and Anthony Levitt. And then Zoe Woods and one of the Love AMGs, not the one of Antonio and Astudi. That's third place in the AM class.
Rob Love on the wheel of that. So
again, Zoe Woods finds herself in the middle of a battle that she's not actually really part of. It was the same yesterday when she was battling for amongst the AM class cars, or the Pro Am cars, and she's a silver class car. So still, regardless, passing move's a passing move, and here's one now.
So Antonio Astudi continuing his march forward, gets up the inside of Paul Morris, who's second of the Pro Am contenders in this race. It's being led by Shane Smollen. You haven't missed anything, by the way. The Mustang's still sitting in the pit lane. Ryland Gray watching the laps tick by. Astudi off the road, very wide on the exit of Siberia. Gee, you can see the right rear on that car is absolutely filthy as a result, but the pass completed and this very good comeback drive continues. 24 seconds off the race lead, which will be frustrating, and because they were on the podium yesterday in the silver class, they'll get a little bit of extra compensation time in their mandatory pit stop, which will open at the 25-minute mark of the race. Levitt looks down the inside at Griffith at MG.
And I don't think that Griffo's going to make this easy. Based on how hard he made it for Antonio Astudi to get by, who was clearly a faster car and not in the same class, this is the battle for the AM class lead at the moment. So Griffo, as we affectionately call him, has been racing for a very long time in this category. Oh, that's a shame to see the Badecki Motorsport crew having to go into the garage, and made the point, I didn't see that there was a quick fix for that car. And they look for any obvious fixes, and doesn't look like there is one. So they'll have to dive deeper to understand what's going on with that Mustang. Back to the battle though here for the lead of AM. Mark Griffith's not going to make it easy. And again, Zoe Woods. It's like these two are battling. I don't really need to be part of this. If you just let me by carefully, I'll get on my way, and you guys can resume the battle for the lead for AM.
Actually bringing Rob Love into this as well in the Love Motorsport AMG. You can see back of shot there. Just dragging up the inside. Levitt again. Just going to have a look, and Griffo's very wide this time. This is for the class lead, remember, so there's a bit in this. And Mark will have the right line for Siberia, and this battle will continue. So too the dramas in pit lane for the Ford. Let's go back to Jonathan.
Yeah, that Medicki Motor Group with Lubramax Ford Mustang of Ryland Gray and George Medicki, they suspect it's a gearbox issue, and that's what was spilling oil all over the racetrack. And unfortunately for them, that's their weekend done. I think they're going to retire that car now, and it's in the garage, as you can see.
Thanks for the update. It's a massive shame for that team. Earlier in the year, as Levitt goes the big send around the outside at Lukey and then the inside at MG, and he's finally going to complete that pass. So gobbles up Mark Griffith, and Zoe Woods is now going to have a go at the number 19 Mercedes AMG. Love's in this mix. Steve Jakic is in the mix as well, behind it in that orange BMW in the Pro-Am class. That's Tom McLennan watching on, Zoe Woods' co-driver. He's enjoying this little battle pack. He'll jump in that car in the second half of the race. That's the TechWorks car, third in shot now. The Merc got a very good run out the final corner. Griffo's going to look down the inside at turn one, but Levitt shuts the door and holds on to the AM class lead.
Plenty of energy in this one. Levitt, great move down at MG to get the job done, and now as they make their way through turn two and Southern Loop, starting to extend the advantage for the lead of the AM class. Looks like there's a little bit of damage though to the rear bumper and rear diffuser on the McLaren of Levitt, so just kind of keep an eye on that one. Doesn't look like it's actually dragging or flapping away from the car, but you can certainly see it moving in the aero. Here's Woods now trying to get up the inside of Mark Griffith at turn four, not able to get it done this time.
Well, Levitt's been wearing a Porsche for much of the race and attacking a Mercedes AMG, so finally gets some clear air as well. Works his way past. So this battle pack continues. Cody Bircher leads the race, 2.5 seconds the margin to Tom Heyman, with Oscar Target third. He's 9.8 off the race lead now, as we go back and pick up Shane Smollen in the central Porsche. He's leading the way in the Pro-Am class with Antonio Astudi in next place. And then we go back to Paul Morris in 7th, Levitt 8th, Griffith 9th, Zoe Woods rounding out the top 10. Well, GT, we've been talking about some of the brands that we've had here. The names as well are sensational at the GT Festival, and we've been talking about Sam Brabham in this race. He'll jump into the 27 car in the second half after a slow start, but his dad's here this weekend as well, and he's joined us in the commentary box. David Brabham's with us. Hello, Brabs, welcome.
Hey guys, how you doing?
Really good. Great to see you here.
Great to be back, yeah.
Yeah, what's it been like coming back to race in Australia and here at Phillip Island?
Oh, awesome. I love the circuit. It's a fantastic track for Australia, it really is. I mean, look at that scenery, the ocean. I mean, you can't get any better than that, can you really?
Brabs, you've done a lap or two around here. You shouldn't be, you shouldn't be looking at the scenery. Turn one fast, mate.
Oh, yeah, you're not wrong. I mean, in these things, it's pretty quick. Yeah, I think the last time I raced here was 2011 in the V8 Supercar Enduros. So it's nice to be back. Haven't driven the GT3 Mercedes before, so it's been a bit new. So new championship, new car, new team, lots of things to kind of absorb, to be fair, but absolutely loving it.
How have you found being back in the Australian racing scene, the competitiveness of the Australian GT Championship?
Yeah, it is very competitive, and I always knew it was when I came here. When it was only last week I got asked to come down, so it was a very late call by Chris Batsios, and great to be here with him, supporting his program. Yeah, I'm doing a bit of racing in the UK in GT Cup, and that's very much a lower level compared to here, very much like British GT. So super competitive, definitely.
Cool to be on the same program with your boy as well. He's been doing a great job.
Yeah, no, they did a great job yesterday, didn't they? Finishing second and leading as well, and great dicing. Two boys, they really, Antonio and Sam drove the wheels off it. They really did. Obviously not a great start for this one, starting like they did. They had a bit of a problem, which now obviously Antonio's on his way, and Sam will get back in the car soon.
How do you go being a racing dad? We know David Brabham as David Brabham, the race car driver, but how do you go as Sam Brabham's dad at the racetrack?
Sam Brabham's dad at the racetrack is a hell of a lot better than Sam Brabham's dad at a football pitch when he was a kid, believe me. I mean, we were looking at some old videos because it was his birthday not long ago, on the 18th of August, and we put some videos together, and we got some old stuff. And both my wife and I, who was is as aggressive as I am on the pitch and the sideline, it was it was embarrassing to look at ourselves back then shouting at them running for a football. So we got all that out of the way in that field, and when it came to racing, it got a lot better. Yeah.
Is there a chance you two share a drive at some point?
We did do at Snetterton in a SR3, actually. Yeah, we got a third place there in our first race together, which was, again, pretty special. And, to see what Sam's done coming over here in 2019, and, he now, he works here, he lives here, he's racing here, and he's done all that himself. And, his parents were really proud of him.
Is that important? Because obviously he carries a very famous motorsport surname. So is it important for him to go, you need to sort of walk your own path a little bit, find your own way?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think at the time he needed to find something that inspired him to take himself to the next level, and coming to Australia has most definitely done that. He's found himself, he's comfortable with who he is, and he's, from a family brand point of view, he's the perfect guy, to take this on into the future.
Just watching Zoe Woods get down the inside of Mark Griffith at turn 1, so having spent 20 minutes and 18 seconds locked up behind car number 19. Zoe's got that move done down at turn 1, and the Porsche moves away. Cody Bircher continues to lead the race. The gap out to 3.2 seconds with pit stop window to open in 5 minutes. How have you found the Mercedes AMG, Brabs? And also working with Chris Batsios, who will be the first to admit that he's very early in his development as a racing car driver. So what's that sort of relationship been like working together?
Great. Really is. I've known Chris for a few years now, and he's been a huge help to Sam when he came over here. And he was a huge F1 fan when I was driving, so this is like a big deal for him, for me to be next to him. And, I'm grateful to him to have that opportunity and help him come along. I've had to learn the car first before I've been able to give him much advice, to be fair. And yeah, we had a few little issues with the tyre shuddering through the corner and not getting quite the grip that we wanted, and we've slowly been improving the car. I've got more up to speed with it. Things are starting to slow down a lot more because I don't really drive to this level anymore, you know what I mean? So, but Chris has done a great job. There's only three or four places he needs to work on. Everywhere else, he's bang on, for his experience. So.
And tell us more about, you've been involved with the Brabham BT62. It's an incredible piece of engineering, an amazing. It's not really a race car. It's an amazing car that does do some racing.
It's a track car, but it is a race car.
Yeah, and it's an amazing bit of kit. So tell us a little bit more about that one, and if there's any more future plans in that sphere.
Yeah, so we started that project launched it in 2018. We tested here in 2017, had the biggest accident we'd ever
I wasn't going to bring that up.
No, well, it was early doors, and the car was, there was an issue at the rear, and it was flexing, and, poor old Ash had a massive accident. Which obviously set the program back a bit, but that's where you go testing, you push the boundaries. This thing's super fast. Broke the record obviously at Bathurst with a technical issue. For 2 seconds the engine went into neutral, basically just stopped, and he coasted for old Luke, and then he got going again. We still did a 58 round there, so that should have been a 56 or a 55 to be fair. But yeah, so we actually pulled out of the program. It wasn't getting to the place we wanted it. We were going in different directions with it, so we cut ties with the partnership. And now we're assessing what we do. We'd love to see Brabham back here racing in Australia. It's Australia's biggest name in motorsport, and it really should be here racing. So having a few meetings with teams to see, okay, what can we do? I mean, it's very early doors. This is the intent, this is the interest we want to do, and see where we get to, see where the land lies.
Cody Birchall leads. Pit window opens in about 90 seconds, so expect the first round of stops to occur very, very soon. Do you look at GT racing as an option, David, for where your brand, your surname, that iconic name could exist in this level of sport?
I think if you for something like that, there's only really two places. That's V8 Supercars and GT. So they're the sort of places we're looking.
You touched on the fact you raced here in the supercars. Fond memories from your time popping up and co-driving in the Enduros?
I did love it. I always found it like probably the biggest challenge to come down and drive those cars on the limit. And not always I got into a car that was kind of sorted. I always found that a lot of teams got quite lost halfway through the year by the time the Enduros came, so it wasn't easy. And at first I was trying to help them figure it out, and I thought, no, I can't do that. So I just focused on my own driving. And I had some good teammates as references. So I absolutely loved coming here and doing the V8s. And very jealous friends of racing drivers in Europe and America when they saw me come down and do the racing.
Yeah, it's often underestimated just how competitive it is, supercar racing. And I mean, I used to think how brave you were to come and race in our championship at that stage of the year, because obviously
so like after
you had a degree of success in your career, and to be able to throw yourself basically in the deep end in supercars.
Big moment, exit turn 11. So Rob Love, the sister car to the one your son's driving, has just had a big moment. Was involved in that battle with Steve Jakic, and they almost swapped positions a couple of times over the last 2 laps. So he spun to the inside, and then it's fired it across the road, and he's pointing in the wrong direction.
Right on line at a really fast entry, the final corner. So hopefully he's able to get that fired up and out of the way. Cars don't like rolling backwards too often, race cars, but he's able to get out of harm's way. The replay, just leaving the second last corner. You can see the oversteer starting. It slides to the inside. Then the tank slapper effect effectively kicks in, and we go the other way. Wet grass.
Not a lot of grip on that grass.
No. So old trick for young players here. Probably should open the wheel a bit earlier, and probably could have used some of that asphalt at the pit entry, but is able to get himself out of the way, and as actually we're looking from our vantage point, has just made his way into pit lane. Is the pit window open, Rich? Is this maybe just a reverse entry into the pit window?
Well, it has, conveniently, Guff, just opened. So the clock has ticked over, so he can actually make this a compulsory stop, and he'll hand that car over to his son, which is a cool thing. Great to see father and son racing together in that team, which is what's actually caused the 27 car to have Sam and Antonio.
You know what happened there? David saw that car off the track, and you instantly thought it was Sam's car, didn't you?
There was a moment. There was a moment.
So he is still full racing, Dad.
When I realised it wasn't, I was kind of hoping, now don't start it, just stay there, get the yellow.
Then he wanted to. So he quickly transitioned. Phew, not Sam's car. Oh, we might have an opportunity here. Don't tell me he's not a racing dad.
Yeah, exactly.
Pit stops have started. So Shane Smollen, leader of the Pro-Am classes, in the lane in the number 1 Porsche. Paul Morris is in. We'll hand over to Nash in the 570S. McLaren, Steve Jakic in. So Ryder Quinn will take over the number 3 BMW, run out of TechWorks Motorsport. He will be very quick in the back end of this race, Garth, so he'll charge through. The Lawrence number 33 BMW in the car. Rob Lovin, as we know, spectacular style. Ryan Gray out of the race, unfortunately, and Jacob Lawrence too in the second of the Randall Motorsport cars as Zoe Woods and Mark Griffith continue their battle that's been raging since the very start of the race. Cody Birch 2.7 seconds out in front. Now, David, I wanted to ask you, you've been racing with Valenti Rosso Motorsport, Chris Papadopoulos and Josh Hunt, both guys with a huge amount of international racing experience and a long, long CV. They've got a really good little race team down there, don't they? And what's it been like working with them this weekend?
Yeah, no, it's been great. I mean, I obviously got a chance to get an idea of what they were like a little bit when Sam raced for them at Bathurst in the GT3 car with Ross. You just, I mean, look, just talking to them, you know there's oodles of experience there for sure. And they know the Merc really well as well. And they've been really helpful for me to get up to speed with it. But yeah, cracking little team.
Little Aston Martin in the GT3 field as well as a pretty spectacular piece of machinery. I had a good poke around that last night with Josh, and that is an incredible racing car. The level of technology, I mean, it's a GTE car really, just slowed down for GT3. Phenomenal bit of kit. Yeah,
I mean, all these cars, they are real pieces of kit. They really are, and they fly around here at the moment. I know. I mean, I don't think I've ever been to a racetrack in the world with this much grip from a circuit. It's insane. It's insane. And like the first day, my neck, I could really feel my neck, and I was really worried about saying anything. But then I started to hear that even people like Will Brown was complaining about his neck. So I thought, well, if he's complaining about his neck, I'm all right, you know.
Yeah, it's incredible whenever they resurface this place, just how much the grip level comes back up again. And it seems like since they last resurfaced it in 2014, when they did it this time, they've added more glue to the surface or done something.
Oh, man, it's insane. But obviously it's caused a lot of loading going into the tyre as well. So I think any tyre manufacturer coming to this circuit get a bit nervous because the load is so much more than what they ever see and what they did develop for.
Anywhere globally.
Yeah.
A lot of the tyre manufacturers do come to Phillip Island to test here because it is known internationally as such a hard place on a tyre.
Yeah.
So. Will you put a tyre on your car in a stop, or is the Mercedes okay?
No, we're okay. I mean, it got a little bit hot on the outer rear.
Yep.
Right rear, so you know, started to snap a little bit more towards the end of the stint, but obviously Audi were having a lot more problems yesterday.
There's Sam.
There he is.
And his car is in the lane, so we'll watch this pit stop through. So car 27 pits from 5th place. It's been a great comeback drive from Antonio Astudi, another not quite so well-known racing surname, but certainly in this part of the world, the Astudis have been around for a very long time.
Wrong box.
Round TechWorks and into the VR garage. So driver change underway, and Sam Brabham will jump in that car out of 5th place. So that's been a solid comeback. Bircher continues on. The pit window is 10 minutes. So 34.59 into the race is when it will close. So they've still got plenty of time to get these stops done. So the BMW will remain out for as long as it can before putting Tim Lay in that car. Tom Heyman doing the same in the number 25 McLaren, and Jake Camilleri has stayed out in Mercedes AMG. He's driving solo, so doesn't have to do the driver change, but still has to come into pit lane for that 120-second mandatory pit stop. Let's jump down to the lane with Cam.
Yeah, I've been enjoying the chat up there, guys. Very enjoyable from down here at pit lane. I just wanted to add that Nash Morris and Paul Morris had a slightly slower stop as a result of a radio connection issue. They probably lost an additional 5 seconds on what their compulsory pit stop time was. So unfortunate for them, and they got jumped by the Smollen car in the meantime.
Thanks, Cam. Good update. Good to know. We'll keep you up to speed with where all those class battles play out when everyone has been through the lane. So how does this afternoon play out for your car, David? You start today?
Yeah, I start today. And from what we learned yesterday, where we really got the front end to work, the rear end wasn't. So now we've got a bit of a direction, so we're going to change the setup again. And I said to the guys, look, you know, Chris is not competing in the championship as such. He's just doing these races. and I might just throw stuff at it. And now I feel like I'm up to speed. I can sort of give them good feedback and give them direction for something a little bit further down the road. So yeah, so I'll just chuck it in and see what happens.
Well, the encouraging thing is, conditions-wise, wind direction, wind speed is very, very similar to yesterday. So it's what you want when you're testing day on day, like you are. Made some serious changes to the car.
Yeah.
At least the conditions are the same, so you know what
Absolutely.
to expect. Grip level's going to be the same. I mean, you can even take some read from this GT4 race. Race pace in GT4 is very similar to what we saw yesterday as well. So it's all the stuff that race car drivers tend to look at. When you make changes to the car, you're always looking, make sure the conditions are the same so we don't have any influence from the racetrack. Make sure the grip's about the same. These cars, the category before, they're going about the same speed as they did yesterday. So when David Brabham gets in, people just expect there's going to be a lap record in the first stint, because he's tuned the front of the car up. He's made changes to the rear. He's told us he feels comfortable in the car. 25.5 is the time that was done yesterday.
Maybe when I was 25, that would be right, but now I'm 58. No, maybe not. But look, as long as I keep improving, I'll be happy. Yeah.
Tom Heyman pits out of second place in the Method Motorsport McLaren. Bit of debris on the run down to turn 3 there, Garth, but McLaren in the lane, so young Marcus Flack will take over that car, and Jake Camilleri is in as well. Ryder Quinn making some moves, so that's for position, and it's for second place in Pro-Am as well. So the BMW marching forward, he's got past Paul Morris. Lockie Beneath leads that class. That'll be a good battle, actually, between Lockie in the Porsche and Ryder Quinn in the BMW for the Pro-Am win. Let's jump down to the lane again. Here's Jonathan.
I'm down at Love Racing by Volante Rosso Motorsport. First off, I'll chat to Rob Love. You just jumped out of the car. You felt the love over at the second to last corner. What happened over there?
Love, I was just pushing a bit more. I just wanted to get a bit closer to Griffo to give Bailey the biggest chance to try to get up to second. And most probably just pushed a bit too hard. So I'm not happy about it, but hopefully Bailey can do it for us now.
Yeah, perfect. Thanks for your time, Rob. Good luck to Bailey, of course, who's in the car. And Antonio Estudi, you've just jumped out. You're still sweating. Was it a tough ride out there for the first stint?
Yeah, it was tough. You know, off the start there, the car went into a bit of a limp mode. So I had to stop at turn 4, do a reset and crack on. It was tricky, you know. We've been trying to get the most out of the car this weekend. We've been right there, so you're trying really hard. It was tricky, like coming through the AMs. You know, Rob was right amongst it, which is awesome. These are some pretty serious AMs. You almost wouldn't call most of them AMs. So got through them, did my best. Sam's in the car now. He's been doing a mega job, so I'm quite confident that for, you know, maybe a bit of luck, we might have a decent result here. But yesterday was awesome, so got to be happy with that at least.
And how's that relationship with Sam been building this weekend? You guys have built some good chemistry together at Phillip Island.
Yeah, I think we've built it before Phillip Island. Like, he's been a good mate for a while. So when Rob gave us the opportunity this weekend to hop in a car together, you know, it was like, oh, mate, it's awesome. When else do you get to hop in a car with your best mate and go racing? So it's been good. He's an awesome teammate. We push each other. So wish him luck out there right now.
Beautiful. Thanks, mate.
Thanks, mate. Cheers. Thank you.
Jonathan Simon with Antonio Estudi. His brother will be in the GT3 race a little bit later on. So the leaders in the lane, Cody Bircher will hand over to Tim Lay from the lead of the race. So they've got some extra pit stop time to serve as well from their strong result yesterday, Garth. Now there is some oil smoke coming out the back of the TechWorks Porsche, having just been handed over to Tom McLennan. That car's been trailing smoke for the last lap and a half.
And I saw it actually when it was leaving pit lane. It looked to be trailing some oil, so very similar to what we saw from the Medeki Motorsport Mustang early in the race, coming from a very similar part of the car. The difference is, Rich, that the engine's in the opposite end of this car, so it's clearly an issue with this car, so they'll be keeping an eye on that in pit lane and in Motorsport Australia race control.
We'll wait to get the rejoin for you. We've been very fortunate to have David Brabham up with us, Le Mans winner, legend of the sport. Brabs, thanks for coming up. Appreciate it. It's been great to have you here this weekend, and really looking forward to seeing what the return of the Brabham name brings us in Aussie motorsport. Looking forward to seeing that.
Yeah, no, great. Thank you, guys. Really appreciate it.
Cheers, mate. You better go and give it a car race. You better go and get
a lap record to prepare for.
Exactly.
Pressure's on now.
Pressure's on. That's David Brabham. Awesome to have him up here. Really cool. Le Mans winner. And one of the great names in our sport, and he will jump into a Mercedes AMG in an hour's time for an hour's Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia race. It's pretty hard not to race fan when that happens, GT. Very, very cool. And that smoke from the TechWorks Porsche getting worse. So if consistency's a thing, and it has been in race control this weekend, you'd expect a mechanical black flag for that car to go into pit lane, because that's very similar to what we saw from the Ford Mustang in the early stages of this race.
It certainly is. It looks to be more localised in that rear corner, the right rear corner of the 718 Cayman. Is Anthony Levitt and Mark Griffith resuming hostilities after the pit stop cycle. Levitt's already done this once and now has to go and do it again, given he had more compensation time in his pit stop, so he was able to get through on Griffith, open a gap, had to spend an additional 10 seconds. His pit stop was 10 seconds longer than Mark Griffith's. Caught him back up again, has to do it all over again. And that is the battle for the race lead in the AM class. Paul Morris, Pro-Am, chasing down Tom McClellan. We saw these two cars battling yesterday. It was Zoe Woods aboard the Porsche yesterday. She was able to get past Paul Morris at one stage. This is the battle again, continues between Griffith and Levitt.
Gee, that smoke is becoming a Batmobile-style smoke screen, isn't it? On the run down towards turn 3, Cam.
Yeah, I thought I'd grab Zoe Woods down here. We've just been talking about your car out on track. You've done so well this weekend, but it looks like you and that McLaren of the Morrises, the cars are never separated.
Yeah, definitely not. It's been a great weekend so far, and also having Tom McLennan on board with me, but also racing against Paul Morris, who is my coach out at Norwell Motorplex. So it's been great having some fun out there with my coach and giving each other a hard time.
Well, you've been coming along in leaps and bounds with your driving. The confidence you must be getting out of this weekend to attack Paul Morris was fantastic for all of us, but your own confidence, I'm assuming, has done a world of good?
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely boosted my confidence over this weekend. I'm someone who lacks a little bit of confidence, so to have Paul around me and have the support of TechWorks Motorsport and Tom McLennan, it's been great.
All right, Zoe, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, doing a super job. This is the battle for the lead in the Pro-Am class. They're 6th and 7th on the road, but it's Porsche versus BMW. So the big German brands battling it out at the pointy end of Pro-Am. So Lockie Manif has got Ryder Quinn locked behind him, and Ryder has hauled up to the back of that Porsche 718 Cayman. And we expected this to happen. Ryder led outright the early stages of yesterday's race, and he's driven this thing hard since taking over at the halfway point. 21 minutes to go. But this is for the Pro-Am lead. 3 classes in Monochrome GT4. They each get their spot on the podium at the end of the race. It's not so much about the outright result, it's about the class win. So this is for the victory and for championship points as well.
So the Smolin Manif Porsche had a win yesterday, therefore they had the full 15 seconds added to their pit stop time as compensation. Number 3 BMW of Ryder Quinn and Steve Jackick only had 5 seconds added. So Quinn was able to close in 10 seconds over the pit stop window, but looks to me like he's got more pace as well. And to your point, Rich, he was very, very fast early in yesterday's race when Ryder Quinn started aboard the number 3 car, led outright and pulled away from the field. So this will be a fascinating battle to see whether Manif is able to hold off Ryder for nearly 20 minutes left to go in this one. So a big battle ahead for the lead in Pro-Am.
Looking for a second Pro-Am win of the season, car number 3. The appropriately named Thunder Buddies Racing. I'm not joking.
Are they Thunder Buddies for life?
That is on the entry list. You have to be, sure.
Well, that's the rule.
Yeah. And a good run out of turn 12 gets into the toe. The Porsche doesn't punch a massive hole in the air. The BMW does. And not able to work past at turn 1 yet. Lockie Manif, a switched on fast race car driver, battle hardened after a couple of years in TCR racing. So he's sharp, he's switched on. He'll be up to this. Ryder Quinn races very regularly. Porsche Carrera Cup Australia racer. Good drive out of the Southern Loop. So this is for the lead in the Pro-Am class. Down towards turn 3. Manif's going to be on the right side of the road for braking at turn 4. Quinn squeezes him out wide. The Porsche light, nimble and agile is going to be up the inside. Can Quinn hold on? Yes, he can. And finally, 3 corners later, gets the pass done and slides through to the lead in the Pro-Am class. BMW in front.
Yeah, nice exchange between those two. Gave each other just the exact amount of room that they needed to get the job done. Quinn really squeezed Manif down to the inside in the braking zone at turn 4, but was able to get around the outside, giving the inside for Siberia, and ultimately got the job done. Here's this battle for the AM class, Griffith versus Levitt. Levitt's got around Griffo finally. Feels like he's seen this video before. Had to get the job done twice. Here we go, Griffith a little bit wide at the exit of turn 1. Oh, and contact. Oh. Significant contact between the two of them. So there's an example of not quite enough racing room between two competitors. And Griffo was actually able to get back up the inside. So Levitt's had to pass him 3 times now for the race lead. Here's feisty indeed is Tom McClellan in the 218 Porsche Cayman. Still smoke trailing from the back of this car. So it's not got worse, Rich, but it doesn't seem like it's getting a whole lot better either.
There's a pit lane penalty coming the way of car 17, which is that red Mercedes AMG for a pit stop time infringement. So there's a mandatory pit stop time in the race, which is for GT4 cars 120 seconds. If you go beneath that, you will get penalised, and the penalty is a drive-through, which is 40 seconds. So Camilleri going past, that's not for position. Car 17 is going to have to serve a drive-through penalty. Race control have been, there's been a, you get 3 laps to serve it, but this weekend in the driver's briefing, they were like, no, if you get a flag, you will serve it on the next lap. So the moment you see that flag, you need to go into pit lane. No leniency on that. Now, just to set the scene at the pointy end of the field, this is young gun Marcus Flack, who is now leading the race outright and leading the silver class. So through that pit stop sequence, this car has been able to elevate itself to the front. The blue BMW in behind is Tim Lay. The margin is 3 seconds. We'll give you a lap time check when they come past the line next time by. Oscar Target is 3rd. Jake Camilleri 4th, and Sam Brabham running along in 5th place, 39 seconds away from the outright race lead, and indeed the silver class lead. But that's still been a solid comeback. What they need is a safety car now, that Merc team, to get themselves back in. But this has been a good run for Flack. Nice racy stint early for Tommy Heyman, who anchored it well. And this team looking to grab a 2nd silver class win for the season. They were winners at the Bend Motorsport Park in the 3rd race of the championship. But Garth, they've been incredibly consistent because they went 2nd, 2nd, 1st, 2nd, 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 and now they lead.
It's not a bad run, is it, Rich? When you consider your worst week result for the year is 2nd and your best is 1st. It's pretty good average, pretty good strike rate, but this lead is hovering around the 3-second mark. Rich said that we'll give you a lap time check. Marcus Flack a 37.0, Tim Lay a 36.4.
Interesting.
So Lay fighting back. The way the 25 car was able to get to the lead was through the pit stop cycle. There's their pit stop, or their compensation time, was only 5 seconds, and by the virtue of fact that the 22 BMW of Tim Lay and Cody Birchall won yesterday, they had the full 15 seconds. So the Flack car spent 10 seconds less time standing still in the pit stop cycle. This car finds itself chasing down the number 25 McLaren, Tim Lay aboard the 22. So it was Cody Birchall that had to get the job done yesterday for the Central West Prestige team. Today it's team owner and all-round good guy, he'll tell you, Tim Lay, aboard the car to try and get the job done this afternoon.
The Mayor of Orange. But by definition, could run in the AM class as a bronze-ranked driver, but elects to run in silver because of the competition. And he wants to race at the front of the field. He wants to win races outright and wants to challenge himself against super fast young drivers like Marcus Flack, who's leading, like Oscar Target, who's in behind him in 3rd place. So I love that. Fiercely competitive guy, in business as well, of course, but on the racetrack with a really long and very successful racing career. For a long time was the fastest ever guy at Mount Panorama in a production car at the Bathurst 6 Hour, and still a contender there every Easter. So can wheel and enjoys the BMW product. He's raced them for a long time. Flack with another lap, 36.8 that time by, plays a 36.0 for Tim Lay. He's absolutely flying at the moment. So we have still got a motor race on our hands as this one winds down. Less than 15 minutes to go in race 2 of Monochrome GT4 Australia.
Oscar Target is currently 3rd place, 36.9 for him on the previous lap. So he's very similar to our race leader. So Tom McClellan has finally brought that number 2110 Porsche Cayman to the lane, and you can see the team going to work on the offending corner of the car. You can actually still see the smoke coming. So with Rags trying to understand there's a lot in the back of Porsches. It's all back there, Rich. So actually see one of the Motorsport Australia race control scrutineers pointing out they saw something. I think that's Frank Adamson.
It is.
Actually, so he's seen it all when it comes to race cars. It's Frank, been around for a very long time, very experienced, knows what he's looking for.
It's a fairly cursory look under that car. I don't know if they learned an enormous amount from that, Garth. You can see Rob Woods, the team boss, in the background watching on. They built a really good program up there at TechWorks Motorsport. Ricky Hilton was involved at the start of that program. Max Vidot still involved every now and then. Yeah, put it in the garage. Yeah. A really promising run for this team all weekend comes to an end. And just a few little reliability issues at the end of this race. Porsche will go into the TechWorks garage. There could be a second part to that where you can put more people on the car in the garage, so you can throw everybody in the team at it to try and get it back out and salvage some championship points potentially. So hopefully that's the case as we watch the little Ginetta G56 run down towards turn 1 with Queensland's Oscar Target behind the wheel. Young guy who's come up through a very successful karting career and then into one-make Porsche racing last year. Was a podium finisher in Sprint Challenge last season. Leads the championship with a round to go in the one-make Porsches this year, part of the Grove Racing Junior program. Very speedy young guy with a bright future in front of him, and everything seems to have clicked for Oscar this year in his one-make Porsche campaign, where he's very, very tough to beat. He's won the last couple of rounds straight in that championship. He's doing a nice job in that Ginetta and a good opportunity to drive something a little bit different to a rear-engine GT3 Cup car.
Following Nash Morris on screen aboard the number 8 McLaren. This is not for position, the car in front of Love. They're 17, so they, remember, had to come through the lane and serve a penalty for breaching the minimum pit stop time for their car. Nash Morris currently 3rd in Pro-Am, 8th outright. And the gap up the road to Lockie Manif is just over 8 seconds, so Zoe Wood and Tom McClellan just debriefing exactly what's wrong with their car. It's a shame for these guys. They were having a great run. Zoe Wood's really a bit of a breakout weekend for her this weekend, Rich. Really confident with the car and doing good things.
I spoke to Rob Woods about that this morning, and he said, yeah, they're both giving exactly the same feedback to the team as well, which is confidence inspiring for a driver still learning the ropes like Zoe is relative to Tom, who's been racing one-make Porsches for a while. This is the battle for the race lead, and indeed in silver class. Tim Lay has got to the back of Marcus Flack, and last time around, again, almost a second a lap quicker. So the BMW has got to the back of Marcus. The question is now, can he work his way past? Marcus, a speedy young guy. He's a winner in one-make Porsche competition. He's been very good in this car with Tom Heyman all season long. As we said earlier, they've been a race winner already for Method Motorsport. So McLaren versus BMW at the front of the field. 10.5 minutes to go.
So given that last lap there was almost a second differential in lap time between these two, Lay really just needs to bide his time for a bit and find out exactly where the strengths and weaknesses are between these two cars, and then obviously exploit any strength that the BMW might have over the McLaren. So getting to the rear bumper is one thing. Getting past, and you mentioned that Marcus Flack is a very competitive young race car driver. He's not going to give this up without a fight. So just because Tim Lay's had performance over Flack to get to the rear bumper doesn't mean that it's going to be a lay down, given that this is for the lead of silver class and for the lead outright.
Marcus still a teenager, believe it or not, and this line gets used, but he's absolutely old enough to be Tim Lay's son. But they battle onwards, and the BMW with a very, very good run out of the final corner. And the drag race is on, down towards turn 1, looks left, looks right, no room this time by. Flack putting the car right in the middle of the road and covering off that race lead.
So we spoke about the fact yesterday that aero wash is quite a big thing in GT3 racing. GT4 cars don't have the same level of downforce. They don't rely on aerodynamics to make their lap time as much as a GT3 car. So you could see there straight away in the mid-corner at turn 2, Tim Lay was able to follow much more closely to the rear of the McLaren than, say, the GT3 cars were able to do that yesterday. So the battle through the lap will be much closer for the majority of the lap. You won't have to sort of set up for a big run. You can follow more closely and put more pressure on the car in front. And in this case, Lay putting more pressure on Flack, trying to force a mistake from Flack, or able to get up the inside, because if you can follow closely through here at the hay shed over Lukey Heights, it then exposes the MG braking zone as an opportunity as they plunge down the hill, because you can follow closely right here. But Flack's going to keep the door closed. You see straight away, straight to the middle of part of the racetrack. Doesn't give Lay enough room to get up the inside under the brakes.
The Method Motorsport team are watching on. It's always interesting to watch a weekend where there's GT3 and GT4, because Chaz Mostert very quickly goes from team manager role with the headset on, working with his drivers, to race car driver in the Arise Racing Ferrari. Great drive at the final corner. The BMW's got plenty of grunt and plenty of torque, so it fires out of the corners really well, but Flack just squeezes him across. They'll still rattle side by side down towards turn 1 for the race lead. For the second time in 2 races, the pass for the lead's done on the outside of turn 1 in Monochrome GT4. But Tim Lay slides past, and car 22 goes to the silver class lead with less than 8 minutes remaining in race 2. Nicely done. Flack raced him hard, but the rate at which that BMW was closing on the McLaren, it did feel somewhat inevitable that he would find his way past eventually, and he did so. So nice pass, and Marcus Flack will slip back to second place. Tim Lay and Cody Bircher will move to the race lead. We're watching Lachlan Manif in the #1 Porsche Cayman 718. He's second in the Pro-Am class, with a bit of a margin back to Nash Morris in third. Ryder Quinn has just crossed the line and continues to lead that class. Ryder actually going quicker that time by than anybody in the top 5, so he's got great pace. Here's Mark Griffith. These two again. And
hard to tell whether it's a replay with these two, because they've been stuck together the entire race.
It is for the lead in the AM class. As we've touched on all weekend, this is meaningful. Top step of the podium stuff. And Griffo, a wily character in these cars. Probably the most experienced GT4 driver in Australia. He was a very early adopter to these cars, as Levitt has a look down the inside at turn 1. This is Levitt's first weekend in GT4. He normally races a car in the Australian Production Car Series, a big Mercedes AMG C-Class, big V8 in the front. So this is a completely different driving style. I spoke to Tony last night. He said he's got so much out of this weekend. Normally runs his own race team. He's team manager, he's caterer, he's engineer, he's driver. This weekend, he said, I can just rock up. I can just be the race car driver. The moment we get out of the car, there's some young professional coming up to talk to me about what I'm doing differently or how I could go faster. He gets Chaz in his ear every now and then as well. So he's got a huge amount out of this experience. He's driving well, but Griffo is making this hard for him.
Mark Griffith, a little moment down in the mid-corner at turn 4 at Honda. Just over-braked potentially, and a little inside front lock ran the car wide. You could see he had a lot of steering lock on. Was able to get around turn 4, and Levitt now, as Griffith's just opening up the entry to Lukey Heights, just got just a little taste of maybe trying to get up the inside. And again here down in MG. Remember Levitt earlier in the race, that's where he passed Mark Griffith for the lead before the pit stop cycle. So Griffo's going to know, well, I'm not going to fall for that trick twice. So he's going to position his car in the right spot to not allow the McLaren through at MG. So Levitt's got to come up with a new trick. He's already done it 2 or 3 times, getting around Griffith, but this battle has raged for the entirety of the 55 minutes so far in this one.
The Daimler Trucks Mercedes continues to lead the way in the AIM class. Tim Lay 1.5 seconds out in front in silver of the race overall, and Ryder Quinn with a big margin in the Pro-Am battle. So this is the fight on the circuit right now, and it's for the AM class win. Less than 5 minutes remaining on the clock, and then it's plus 1 lap after the clock counts down to 0. Don't forget to stick around. Our coverage from Phillip Island today. Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia coming your way this afternoon. They are going quicker than GT3 cars have ever gone at this place. Lap record set yesterday. All kinds of drama at the end. Ferrari, Mercedes, AMG and Audi in particular absolutely battling it out at the front. And it was a win for Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot yesterday. So that race coming your way a little bit later on this afternoon, and it is blockbuster stuff at the moment, GT racing in Australia. So stick around, lots to come your way. I'll tell you what, GT, the threat of weather has somewhat diminished. I know we often talk it up in motor racing TV, but there was predictions of doom and gloom this morning about 100% chance of rain and thunderstorms and all kinds of bad things. But right now, beautiful sunshine as the McLaren squeezes. Is there room? Well, it just was on the entry to the corner, but it closed pretty quickly. And a dive plane has gone missing off the front corner of the McLaren Artura GT4. So a little bit of contact. Griffo gets some margin. And this battle for the lead in the AM class continues on. Is there worse damage perhaps to the steering of Anthony Levitt's car and the outright race leader coming by to put them a lap down? So Tim Lay does not want to get involved in this. Let's have another look.
So remember last lap, Levitt might have had a little think about it. Then here, Griffith just opens the steering. Levitt has to use all the curb and then some. So just the smallest of contact, hopefully no real steering damage. And now Levitt has to deal with Tim Lay trying to put him a lap down effectively. So our outright race leader ranging up on the rear of our AM race leaders. So this also will sort of just slow Levitt's catching of Griffith again. So Lay now. Oh!
No!
So that is damage. Levitt, serious damage. He did not see Tim Lay up the inside, and you can see that car's effectively cross-eyed at the moment. Big steering damage to the 24 McLaren, and he will be out of this one. But what has that done to Lay, our race leader? So you can see here, Lay ranging up on the inside, goes for the passing move into turn 4, and Levitt's not really noticed that he's there. Heavy contact. You can see straight away steering damage to the McLaren. Lay turns turn 4. What damage does that car have? Now he up the inside of Griffith. Griffith sees him coming and gets well out of the way. And given by the body language of this car, it looks like Lay's got away with it.
Wow, big moment for the race leader late in the race. I'm just about to say the smart thing for Anthony Levitt would be to get in behind Tim Lay and follow him to the back of Mark Griffith and then re-engage that battle. So perhaps a bullet dodged for our race leader. The BMW powers away out in front, and Tim can bring this car home. He's still got 2.7 seconds over Marcus Flack. Oscar Target's pulled a little bit of time actually out of the McLaren the last couple of laps. It was 0.8 of a second last time round, but there's 6.5 between them for second and third, so not much of a battle going on. Jake Camilleri still fourth, Sam Brabham still fifth, and actually pushing on in the Love Motorsport number 27 car, about to set his fastest lap of the race, which was a trend we saw yesterday as well, with cars going very quick at the end. And there is the McLaren, the pursuer. Much easier task for him to work his way past the lap cars.
Certainly is. As you're the cars that are second, third and fourth in the race, they've effectively already, the leader has already alerted that they're starting to go laps down, so they become more aware of the surroundings. The leader effectively opens up the lapped cars, and those following can get through it a lot more easily, but certainly heart in the mouth moment there for Tim Lay down at turn 4 the previous lap. Has to slow the car down though, like straight away first sector on this next lap, very competitive, so Lay's not too concerned about it. It's Marcus Flack second at the moment, 3 seconds behind Lay in the lead, but some 6.5 seconds up the road from Oscar Target, so very safe in second, so not much more to be done for Marcus Flack other than to bring the number 25 McLaren home for another second, Rich, so
yes,
equals their worst result of the year.
Well, the big story for them, Garth, is the fact that the Mustangs out of the race, and they were second in the championship coming into the weekend. This will be a massive points haul for them, given it will be a 0 score for Ryland Gray and George Medicki. So that's a very big swing from a championship point of view going into the business end of the season. So only a couple of rounds to go. Sydney Motorsport Park, the next stop for Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia and Monochrome GT4, and then the finale at Mount Panorama in November. Hell of a place to decide a championship. And who knows which of the cars will be good on the mountain. The mountain traditionally in this style of racing has been a racetrack that gives something for everybody. Some cars better across the top, some cars better up the hill. That's going to be fascinating. But this car has been the one to beat this weekend. Cody Bircher has been a really good addition to this team alongside Tim Lay. said if I was going to bring another driver in, it needed to be from my part of the world. So he tapped young Cody on the shoulder. He's a young driver looking to grow and evolve his career. Very good in the sim racing world, very good behind the wheel of a BMW, as it turns out. And Tim Lay, who's been doing this for a long time and consistently at an extremely high level, continues to punch on. And he hauled down the McLaren. He passed the McLaren, and now he's going to get the checkered flag, this time by. And it will be a very, very big win for the genuine BMW parts, BMW M4. And race 2 of Monochrome GT4 Australia goes the way of Tim Lay and Cody Bircher. Well done, great drive. Marcus Flack and Tom Heyman second for Method Motorsport in the McLaren. And once again, 3 different brands in the top 3, with Oscar Target capping off a really solid weekend in the Ginetta on its Australian debut in position number 3. And here's Jake Camilleri, who'll be 4th outright. So Mercedes AMG, the strong weekend. I reckon best weekend for the Mercs in GT4 this season overall, from a competition point of view. And then we'll wait for the Pro-Am winner to come to the line. Ryder Quinn just coming onto the straight now in the big BMW. So it's going to be a double win for BMW today, Garth. That's a huge performance. Here is Ryder. This has been a great drive this afternoon.
Certainly has. Nice fight back. Get themselves on the top step of the Pro-Am class. So Ryder Quinn, very fast as well. So showed that yesterday. Nice fight back. Brings it home 6th outright, first in class in Pro-Am. Lockie Manif did not have the speed in that final stint of Ryder Quinn, but still, as far as championship points go, it's a nice haul for he and Shane Smollen in Pro-Am to come home 2nd in that class and bag a whole heap of points.
7th podium finish from 8 races in the Pro-Am class for the number 1 Porsche. And well done to Mark Griffith, who spent the entire race involved in a battle with somebody and ultimately comes out on top in the AM class.
Nice result. So AMG GT Mercedes GT4 of Griffo comes home 9th outright, first in AM. Jamie Augustine for Randall Racing in that BMW. So to your point, Rich, a very good day for BMW products throughout the 3 classes.
Confirmation of race results. Race 2 Monochrome GT4. So BMW, McLaren and Ginetta, the top 3 in the silver class. And there are your class winners on the right of screen as well. So well done to Ryder Quinn and Steve Jakic. They get the win in their category in Pro-Am, and the Am class, after a huge fight, went the way of Griffo doing great things in the Mercedes AMG, and of course Tim Lay and Cody Bircher on top. The big stories from that one, DNFs for Tom McLennan and Zoe Woods. They've got a new Porsche coming for a later round this year, so that's good news for them at least. But the big story, a DNF for Rylan Gray and George Medicki in the Lubramax Mustang. A 0 score, and from a championship point of view, provisionally at least, that's going to see a change at the top of the standings, with Marcus Flack and Tom Heyman now leading the way in the standings. And in a championship this tight, you cannot afford a DNF.
Yeah, it makes it very, very tough. So 12-point lead to Flack and Heyman over George Medicki and Rylan Gray. Highlights from this one, though, there was plenty going on early. And Rylan Gray in the Medicki Motorsport Mustang, he launched and took off. And it was an exciting battle between the BMW and McLaren at 1, and Cody Bircher had to go right around the outside to effectively defend 2nd to get the job done over Heyman. Oscar Target slid in to 4th, and he would stay inside the top 5 for the majority of today's race. Antonio Astudi lost a heap of spots off the line and had to effectively stop and reset their Mercedes and get going again. It was a great fight back by both he and Sam Brabham as the race continued on, but you can see that gap that Rylan Gray was able to open up before drama started to strike the Mustang.
Yeah, so the smoke started pretty early in the race. Just a couple of laps in, he was caught by Cody Bircher, but then was given the mechanical black flag, had to pit, and ultimately what we understand is a gearbox issue for that car. Forced it out of the race. Behind it, as always, in Monochrome GT4, it was all going on. This was a big moment. It turned out it worked all right because it was just a wild way to get into pit lane for the compulsory pit stops in this race. This was the battle for the Pro-Am class lead. Ryder Quinn and Lockie Manif punched on for a good time, BMW versus Porsche, and ultimately Ryder was able to get that pass done. More smoke, more troubles, this time for TechWorks the Iron Boats Innovation Race Cars entry. Zoe Woods had driven so well at the start. Tom McLennan didn't get much of an opportunity to demonstrate what he could do. And then this was the battle for the race lead. Tim Lay holding young Marcus Black. The second time in 2 races. The pass for the lead came at turn 1. At the end of Gardner Straight, the BMW swept through, and that would be the race win. A huge weekend for the BMW. It wasn't without some late drama, though. While navigating the battle for the AM Class win, contact with Anthony Levitt, who had dramas, was off the road. Checkered flag was out. Tim Lay and Cody Birch are the winners at Phillip Island. Here's Cam.
Thanks, Kralsey. I have got those winners, Cody Birch and Tim Lay. Congratulations. I'll start with you, Tim, because you're right next to me, and you finished that race. Well done.
Thank you, mate. It's terrific. Ash Seawood and the boys just did a great job. We came here and tested and really reinvented the car this weekend, so it was fantastic. And to get Cody, who's from my hometown of Orange, and give him some miles, because I want him to become a race car driver, and I'm just going to be an old car dealer. So it was terrific. Great result for the team and for Cody. Yeah, thank you.
And a quick one, the Mayor of Orange is a bit aggrieved you've stolen the title. We'll talk about that later, though. Cody Birch, congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a really good race. Made it. Didn't get the start I wanted, but I was able to push quite hard, and I guess also look after the tyre to hand over to Tim in the best way possible. So, and then he had an awesome last stint to take the lead. So yeah, super happy 2 from 2 this weekend. You can't ask much more than that.
Congratulations. Let you get set for the podium. We're going to sneak through and see if we can find. There they are, Ryder Quinn. Come on up here, Ryder Quinn. Steve Jackich, we're going to steal you guys very quickly down the back. It's busy down here. We'll start with Steve first. We'll go age before beauty. How about that, Ryder? Steve, congratulations. Great job for the class win.
Thanks, guys. It was pretty tough, but stayed in, done my best, and Ryder brought it home. Great result, mate.
Ryder, the speed you showed towards the end, mate, congratulations. Your garage has had a camera in it all weekend. That's always a great sign.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's a team game, right? So team at TechWorks and Steve, co-driver, did an amazing job. It was all about just managing. Once I passed Manif, it was just about managing that right rear. I was hearing sounds and vibrations, and that's never what you want to hear. So it's good we brought it home.
Well done. Head up to the podium. We're going to grab Mark Griffith. I hope you've got your Pirelli cap on, Mark. Geez, you were hammered by everybody. You were under pressure all race. Congratulations on the AM Class win.
Yeah, thank you. It was a good race. Yeah, my good friend Tony Levitt, I'm not sure. He tried to hit every panel I had, but we survived, so I hope he's all right. I don't know where he went. But yeah, what a good race for all. The leaders passed us in the end, and fantastic for our Janetta to get up on the podium as well.
All right, Griffo, head up to the podium. We'll be there shortly. Thank you very much. That's your class winners.
Yeah, well done, Cam. Nice work. And poor old Griffo has hit pillar to punch in that one, but still got the class win. Tony Levitt at DNF, Tom McLennan at DNF, unfortunately, with Zoe Woods. Rylan Gray, the big story, as we touched on in the Ford Mustang, as we get set for the podium. Let's just have a very quick look at what's yet to come. GT, Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia up next, and some powerhouse stuff going on there yesterday. An incredible race, won by Ferrari, but there were some cars that had some late race dramas that didn't make it to the end ultimately.
Yeah, so some very fast cars. Brendan Leach, who reset the lap record lap after lap after lap, had a tyre fail very late, as did Jackson Evans in the team Ferrari of our race winner yesterday, Chaz Mostert, and even found out after the race, our winner from yesterday, Chaz Mostert, in the #1 Ferrari, tyre dramas in that car, so plenty to play out this afternoon. Let's hear more from Cam down at the podium.
Welcome to the podium presentation for Monochrome GT4 Australia Round 4. Presenting the trophies today, Ben McMillan on behalf of SRO. Please welcome the top 3 place cars for the Pro-Am class. In 3rd place, Nash Morris and Paul Morris for Nemo Racing. In 2nd place, Lachlan Manif and Shane Smollen for Method Motorsport. And in 1st place, Ryder Quinn and Steve Jackich, Thunder Buddies Racing. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monochrome GT4 Australia Pro-Am winners. And now for the celebrations.
Great scenes. It means a lot to these guys. And how about the combination? Ryder Quinn loves the champagne spray. Steve Jackage getting in and among it as well. And a great result too for TechWorks Motorsport, who just took over the running of that BMW this weekend. They get themselves a win in the Pro-Am class. Still got Am and Silver class podiums to come your way as we continue to build towards Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia on a stunning day here at Phillip Island. Beautiful conditions, a great crowd on hand as well to watch the racing. We're about set for the next stage of our podium. Cameron?
And now, please welcome the top 3 place cars for the Am Cup. In third place, Bailey Love and Rob Love. Love Racing by Volante Rosso Motorsport. In second place, Jamie Augustine and Peter Lawrence for Randall Racing. And in first place, Mark Griffith, Team 19. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monochrome GT4 Australia Am Cup class winners. And now for the celebrations.
Worth noting the performance there by Randall Racing to get second there. Great drive from Jamie Augustine at the end of that race to bring that car home in second position after some early dramas in that race. It's been a tough weekend for the BMW team, but they've bounced back well. Cool to see John Bow there, the honorary podium recipient, I think, watching on. Unfortunately, Jacob Lawrence out of the race, just 2 laps in the sister number 32 car, but cool to see the BMW there with a great result, and the father and son Bailey and Rob Love team third place in the Am class, which has been hugely competitive this weekend. Very entertaining racing, and at one point there was a freight train of 5 or 6 cars all locked together. That's the scene down in Victory Lane, and it's time for the Silver class podium now.
Finally, please welcome the winners for the Silver Cup. In third place, Oscar Target, Team 19. In second place, Marcus Flack and Tom Heyman, Method Motorsport. And in first place, Tim Leahy and Cody Bircher for Tim Leahy. Ladies and gentlemen, your Monochrome GT4 Australia Silver Cup winners. And now for the celebrations.
Great celebrations on the podium, and well done to Tim Leahy for a great win with Cody Bircher for BMW in what is a massive weekend for Monochrome GT4 Australia. A couple of rounds to go in their championship. Looking forward to that. But very shortly, Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia is coming your way. Our team will be on the grid to bring you all of the colour before the start of what is going to be a massive motor race this afternoon. You're watching the SRO GT Festival live from the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. Stunning scenes at Phillip Island, and earlier in the week on the lead up to the GT Festival, a field of GT3 and GT4 cars took a little road trip from the San Remo campus of Bass Coast College, not too far away from here, over the iconic Phillip Island Bridge and the narrows that lead you over to this iconic part of the world, and then drove all the way into this majestic Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. It was a great way to kick off what's been a tremendous weekend. There's been a great crowd here all 3 days of this event, soaking in some sunshine and some terrific GT racing. And that is the scene looking down over the pit complex here at Phillip Island as we get ready for Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia, powered by AWS. It's round 4 of the championship. Race 2 about to start. There will be 1 hour of racing. It will be fast. Yesterday, Brendan Leach set and then reset a new GT lap record at Phillip Island at 1 minute 25.59, which is an average speed of 187 kilometres an hour. This is the fastest racetrack in the Southern Hemisphere. It's one of the great places to go car racing, and GT3 cars at full flight here are a sight to behold. So too the weather today. Remarkably, there were predictions of doom coming into today. We had a fantastic day yesterday. It was almost 19 degrees at one point and bright sunshine with a light breeze. Well, the breeze is still here. But there were big forecasts of thunderstorms this afternoon. They have yet to eventuate, and it looks clear for at least the window for this race to roll out. So many talking points in GT racing this year. It has been a phenomenal battle, and this is what happened yesterday. It was a phenomenal battle for an hour. The Ferrari with Chaz Mostert behind the wheel led the way into turn 1. Liam Talbot did a great job in this race. There was a little hip and shoulder early for the Audi R8 with Paul Stokel and Rene Gracie a little bit wide, and then Stokel got into Peter Hackett in the 888 Race Engineering Mercedes AMG. That would deliver them a 15-second penalty they served at their pit stop, and it would be a big comeback drive from them. The Realtor number 66 car had contact Paul Lucchetti down there. Then this was a huge moment. Brad Schumacher diving down the inside was second for about 10 metres, and then Luke Leshaw and Partners Audi, Will Brown, had a big comeback drive at the end of it and would ultimately finish in 5th place. This was the fight for second though. Paul Stokel boxing on. Alex Peroni was in the mix in this with Mark Rosser driving brilliantly early on. And then Brendan Leach pushing on in the Dale ITM Audi in a fight here with the number 8 car of Jackson Evans and Elliot Shute. And it was Jackson who started that car. So this was Elliot who started that car, I should say. This was the moment. Miles getting into pit lane, got to 40 k's an hour, was whacked by the number 8 Ferrari, which went into anti-stall and then hesitated a little bit. So that cost them some time. The OnlyFans Audi had to serve an extra 15 seconds, and then these two resumed their battle after the pit stops with Brendan Leach behind the wheel of car number 7 and going very quickly indeed. The Merc down the inside, the Black Wolf Motorsport AMG down the inside of Ash Samadi, and then a right rear tyre issue for the number 8 Arise Racing Ferrari with Jackson Evans behind the wheel, and then this huge catch from Brendan Leach at turn 3. The right rear gone on the Audi. This gripped up racetrack going quicker than it's ever been before, causing massive dramas. And after coasting home the last 2 laps, Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot got the race win, their second of the season for Arise Racing in the Ferrari 296 GT3. Great drive. Podium completed by Alex Peroni and Mark Rosser for Audi, and Team BRM, the ACM Finance car, did a super job. Their second best result of the season, having won last time out, and a comeback drive, which was what everyone was talking about, was the huge performance by Declan Fraser and Peter Hackett driving from that spin early in the race to charge their way back through to 3rd place. So that's the scene. DJ on the grid, lots of colour and excitement. A great crowd watching on, and the cars taking position as they get set for another hour of racing. Just 2 rounds to go after this one in Fanatec GT World Challenge. We're off to Sydney Motorsport Park for the next round in October, and then off to the mountain in November for what will be a grand finale of a championship that could go either way. And it was so close. Just 3 points covering the top 3 drivers yesterday, but the championship leaders had a key win, coupled with 5th place for Will Brown and Brad Schumacher. So the Arise Racing Ferrari team just extending their margin out. A few cars just bottled up, waiting to get down into the front row of the grid, and we'll let a massive crowd, and indeed our pit lane team, loose and chat to some drivers and bring you some of the colour as we get set for this race. So Chaz Mostert will start. The pro drivers will start this race and then hand over to their teammates at the mandatory pit stop window. So Mostert and Jaden Ojeda, who did a super job in qualifying in the Realtor number 66 Mercedes AMG, will start on the front row of this. Jackson Evans is out of third, so he'll follow his Ferrari teammate down to turn 1. Will Brown will start the 87 Shaw and Partners Audi out of 4th place. Brendan Leach, the Dale ITM Audi from 5th, and then Declan Fraser, the 888 car, who will hand over to Peter Hackett, former Australian GT champion, out of 6th position. Brenton Grove has been very strong for Grove Racing in the Mercedes AMG. And then Alex Peroni out of 8th position. We were lucky enough to hear from David Brabham during Monochrome GT4 race a little bit early on today, and Brabs will start the Harold's Racing number 34 car from Valenti Rosso Motorsport out of 10th position, alongside his teammate in the Aston Martin Vantage GT3, young gun Alex Gardner, the reigning Radical Cup champion here in Australia. Super fast young guy, and he will be driving that very nice brand new Aston Martin, at least to this part of the world, off the 5th row of the grid. Bright sunshine, great conditions, and a breeze still running down the pit straight, just keeping everyone in the mood. Let's go down to the grid. Here's Cameron.
Thanks, Kralsey. Beautiful conditions down here. Not what we expected when we saw the forecast yesterday. Jaden Ojeda, front row of the grid. Big fight ahead today.
Yeah. When we looked at the forecast, it didn't look so like it was going to be such a nice day, but it's sunny. It's hopefully we have a good start here in the 66 Realtor Mercedes and can hold Chaz off into turn 1. It's a replica of the grid that we had here for the first round, so hopefully I can do the same and lead into turn 2 and hold on for the rest of the stint.
Mate, how's the vibe of this festival, this grid? We got DJs playing, we got a packed grid of people. It's just got so much atmosphere here.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Such a cool event. And SRO have done an awesome job. Obviously, the first GT festival of its kind here in Australia, and they've done a really good job.
Now, last one, Jaden, what's it going to take to get over the top of the Ferraris today, and what about tyre management?
I think the Merc might be okay on its tyres. We didn't see any Mercedes tyres let go yesterday, so it's a bit of a lazy car, but it sort of looks after its tyres. So fingers crossed that characteristics helps us today. I think the Ferraris will be very quick, so it'll be a challenge, but all for it.
Good luck for the race.
Thank you.
Chaz Mostert starting from pole position in this one. Great day yesterday, Chaz. Started from pole. Your teammate Liam Talbot led the race, gave it to you in the lead, and you brought it home. Starting from pole again today. It's all up to you this morning.
Yeah, it is, GT. First of all, how good's this vibe? Obviously, beautiful weather down here at Phillip Island. DJ's going off. He's the people out to come see the GT cars. It's pretty special. But yeah, yesterday we got the biscuits. Today we've got a bit of harder job with a 15-second penalty, but that's what makes this GT racing good. You know, it really shares it around a bit, but then it makes you really have to strive for it. So we've got a quick car. You know what Liam can do behind the wheel. He'll carry me home in this one. So hopefully I get a good start and we'll get into the race, see what we can do.
I want to talk to you about that 15-second. It's not a penalty, it's compensation time, because you did such a good job yesterday, Chaz, that we've got to bring you back to the pack. It happens every weekend in GT racing. But yesterday we saw a few dramas with tyres, and Ferraris weren't immune from that. We saw your teammate Jackson Evans have a tyre failure during the race, and I did hear that maybe the tyre on your car only just made it home. So how do you weigh up trying to extend that 15-second penalty that you'll have to take at the pit stop by going hard early, but also managing the tyre?
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky day. Obviously, a lot of tyre damage up and down the field yesterday. So the track is really, really fast. I put it down to probably the top sealant just coming off this track, and the grips levels come up from the start of the year. So who knows? We'll just have to battle on. Us drivers will blame the engineers, and the engineers will blame the drivers. So it's pretty simple at the end of the day.
Good luck today, Chaz.
Thank you. Hi, Ree, Everly, and the doggies, and Sandy at home.
So we go a couple of rows back now to Peter Hackett and Declan Fraser. Yesterday, Peter Hackett started the race. You and Paul Stokel had a little moment, hoping for a cleaner start today.
Yeah, Paul and I were teammates a long time ago, and I know there was no malice in it. I know he didn't mean it. We spoke to it after the race. He had a brake issue. It's a turn 2 thing, but, you know, realistically, it was a fantastic comeback. Our car's been super fast all weekend. The 888 team's been extraordinary, and we really haven't put on paper what we're capable of doing, and the race yesterday kind of hinted at what we can do. And I think at the end of the race yesterday, Declan was second fastest on track. So yeah, hopefully he gets a clean start. I'm sure he will, and keep us up front.
And on that, Declan, there's some Ferraris, some Audis, another Mercedes a bit further up. What's the strength of this car for you in this race?
Yeah, I think we've seen it yesterday. The car just gets faster and faster. So for us, it's about getting into a good position for the pit stops. We've got a 5-second penalty for the success from yesterday in third. So
I'll just manage the race, make sure we can get into a clean spot, be within or hopefully in front of everyone, but be within where we need to be for the pit stops and then hand over to Pete and bring it home.
Very quickly, Peter, we also saw a couple of other little things creep in. I think the pedal box was moving around on you. No more issues on that front?
No. Gabby here, she fixed that for us yesterday. We just had a cable fray a little bit. It's just an anomaly that happened out of case in qualifying. So no, that's all fixed and we're good to go.
Thanks, guys. Over to Garth.
I'm with yesterday's very fast man, but ultimately unlucky man, Brendan Leach. Reset the lap record, lap after lap after lap, but tyre failure late in that one yesterday.
Yeah, tough day for us. I mean, we had great performance. Tim did an amazing start to the race and got us right into the mix. And then, then I was able to climb forward a bit more and press on. But unfortunately, a radio issue. Couldn't hear anything from the team. Wasn't sure what to do. Didn't know who was behind or what was happening, so just kept pushing and ultimately too much and ended up with a failure and putting us out. We managed to finish the race and get some points, or a point, but not the result we were after.
So how do you adjust in today? So you obviously learnt by pushing every lap is probably not the way to go. So car setup changes today or just adjust the way that you drive the car?
We made a couple of very small changes to the car so that I can still ultimately get the pace out of it. So I'll still be going for it as best I can. It is quite tricky to pass around here, especially when the guys in front of me are super fast as well. It makes it a little bit more difficult to, once you get close, you've just got to be a bit smart with how you place the car. So if I can capitalise on some mistakes, or I could just do a better job in qualifying, then we'll have a good race, I'm sure.
Thanks, Brendan. Good luck today.
Thanks, Garth.
Continuing our walk down the grid, I thought I'd grab Mark Rosser and also Alex Peroni down here, a little bit further down. But Mark, yesterday, incredible speed from you. I know you'll be doing the last part of this race, but you must be carrying forward a lot of confidence.
Yeah, the car was great yesterday. The team did a great job setting it up. So, yeah, we're confident that Alex can make up a few places today and hopefully I'll jump in a decent position and see how we go from there.
Well, Alex, race winner, both of you, out at Queensland Raceway on the Saturday. The highlights package is fantastic, and I'm sure you guys have watched that over multiple times. How's the atmosphere in GT racing? Great to have you back in Australia racing GT cars. You must be loving what you're seeing here, particularly this GT Festival.
Yeah, it's great. It's great. It's an amazing championship, like a lot of interest, as we can see, and great drivers, great teams. So for a pro driver, it's what we want, to compete against the best in Australia, and they're here for sure.
All right, Mark, how confident are you going to get a podium result here today?
We'll need a little bit of luck, but with a little bit of luck, I reckon we can get there.
Good luck, boys.
Thank you. Thanks, mate.
Found a couple of characters hanging around. It's not even their race car. It's Brendan Leach and Tim Miles' car. We'll start with Will Brown. Will, tough day yesterday. Teammate Brad Schumacher had a spin early. You had to fight back, and then ultimately you got stuck behind this guy, Brenton Grove. Tell us how you're going to go forwards today.
Yeah, we'll wait and see. We'll see what happens off the start here. Yesterday was an interesting race with all the tyres at the end there. But, see what the boys do off the front row and then follow it through from there.
Spoken to a few drivers about how do you weigh up conserving the tyre and making sure the tyre lasts the full hour, but then also making sure you maximise the opportunity at the start of this race.
Yeah, they generally blow in the second stint. I'm not in the car then, so typical selfish driver. Hey, no, we want to have a good result. I think a lot of people are going to change a tyre in the pit stop to try and prevent that. I think nearly every tyre failure was that right rear that's so loaded. So I think everyone will chuck one on for the AM and then go from there.
Good luck, Will. We're here with Brenton Grove as well, and you kept Will behind you. So for someone that basically sits in the boardroom all week and then you kept the Supercars Championship leader behind you for the entirety of yesterday's race, you have to have some confidence taken out of that going into today's race.
Yeah, for sure. I was just having a joke with Will about it then. We came up through the junior categories together and were teammates quite a bit when we were younger. So it was good to battle again. Like you said, I kind of chose a business path, so to race him, he's quite fun. But Will's a great guy and he doesn't do anything silly, so it's nice to race guys like that.
What about the Mercedes? We've heard from the Ferrari and the Audi drivers that they had some tyre dramas yesterday. How about the Mercedes? How did that pull up after an hour running yesterday?
No, we were fine. I think we knew coming in that it was going to be an issue, and we spent our practice time wisely to make sure that the tyre was looked after. So at the end of the day, we're fine, and we'll try and put some pressure on them today because I think they probably need to be a bit more conservative than us. So I'll be pushing them pretty hard to see if they either go to the pace and change a tyre or whether they try to conserve. So it'll be an interesting race.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Well, we go from the Groves to the Brabhams, and now, if I remember from commentary in GT4, you're now Sam's dad, but you said you were a better motorsport dad than you are a football dad. Is that what I heard earlier?
That's so right. I tell you, I was shocking, absolutely shocking. But I wanted to be a footballer when I was a kid. So, yeah, you know what it's like when you see parents all thought they could be footballers and they're shouting at their kids. Yeah, I was number one, definitely. But it got better as I went racing, that's for sure. But, yeah, just really super proud of what he did yesterday, the whole team. You know, it's great to be here. So, yeah, just here supporting Sam and Chris.
So from David Brabham to Sam Brabham. Now, Sam, great job over GT4 over the weekend. Any advice for the old man?
Just have a clean start and have a dip and see what happens, mate.
And David, just quickly, while we've got you on the grid as well, how's the atmosphere here in GT racing in Australia? Someone that's raced all over the world in all sorts of categories, you must be proud of what's happening in the Australian motorsport scene.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, Australian motorsport's incredibly strong. And it's admired by a lot of people overseas as well. So, you can see the GT category just getting stronger and bigger with all the grids. GT4 now expanding, obviously, with Sam and that now. And, it's great to be here and absorb it instead of being the other side of the world. And first, the last thing, we just want to say hello to Brab's diva, Lisa, who's watching in the UK. So.
There you go, thank you, and good luck today.
Yeah, thank you.
Standing with the man driving the car in the second half of this race, right next to the car that we were talking to earlier, Ross Polakis in the Aston Martin. It's a beautiful looking race car. This is your second weekend in this car. Just tell us how you're enjoying it.
Actually, first weekend in this car. Really enjoying it. It's a bit of a different setup to the AMG, but having a lot of fun learning it. Again, team's learning as well. So we're just having a real good time and getting faster and faster. Hopefully have a nice clean race today and be good.
Tell us about the difference between the AMG. They're both front-engine cars, GT cars, but obviously Aston Martin has its own unique traits. Just tell us a little bit about the differences.
Well, everything that I've always been told is the AMG set up for the AM drivers, and like an Aston Martin's a bit more pro driver focused, and I can actually feel that. Again, it's a lot more edgier, a bit more nimble. Again, it's just more entertaining, more lively when you're driving it. But again, each car's got its own different characteristics that make it fantastic both to drive.
How about sharing the car with young Alex Gardner, who's making his way up trying to be a pro driver in this category? You are an AM driver. You've got businesses to run. Yep. So how is it sharing it with a young guy like Alex?
Alex is fantastic. I mean, he's number one. He's a really good kid. He's humble. He wants to learn. He's doing his homework. And as I said, sharing with him, seeing him in this opportunity, it's just fantastic. And he's going to do really well today. So again, wish him all the best. But again, he's doing a really good job. So we're happy.
Good luck this afternoon.
Thanks, Garth.
Starting to clear the grid of all the fans, so it was a great opportunity to talk to CEO of SRO Australia, Ben McMullen. Now, Ben, this SRO Australia GT Festival has just got an incredible atmosphere. You must be incredibly proud of your team that have put this together.
Yeah, very proud of the team. I think so far it's been a fantastic event, really good turnout of fans, had some awesome activations, supercar park on display there, victory lane, grid walks for all the fans. I think DJ on the grid, something a bit different, so far so good.
Just heard from David Brabham how strong GT racing is getting in Australia. Again, this momentum, it'll be carrying into 2025.
Yeah, definitely. A lot of good things on the go, a lot of positivity coming out of this year, pushing into next year. So really looking forward to it.
I'll let you go and soak up the atmosphere, enjoy it. We put the weather on for you here at Phillip Island too.
I know, it's been fantastic. It's always a bit of a risk in August, but it's been amazing. So can't ask for much more.
Thanks, Ben.
Thank you.
Great work from Cameron van der Dungen and Garth Tander down there on a packed grid that was pumping with atmosphere. DJ at the front and some very, very cool names and some very cool racing cars set to battle for an hours of racing. We're less than 10 minutes away from the start of this pretty key race from a championship point of view. There's only one more round to go in the Sprint Cup side of things. After this, there's an Enduro in Sydney first, and then the championship to be decided at Mount Panorama in November. So this turns out to be a pretty critical race, and all of the firepower is centred at the front of the field in this one. All the big names are in it. Jackson Evans there behind the wheel of car number 8. The Arise Racing Ferrari that had a pretty tough day yesterday with a tyre going right at the end and some other little hiccups earlier on. So they're going to have a big day today. But Jackson, one of the most accomplished GT drivers going around at the moment, plying his trade all around. Great to have BMW as an official partner of this race and this event this weekend, and the BMW safety cars and course vehicles have been a big part of it. A couple cutting laps this morning, actually. I was slightly jealous. There was a long line of people getting to go around Phillip Island and enjoy this incredible racetrack. So the Grove Hire Mercedes AMG, that was very fast. You heard from Brenton Grove on the grid, holding out the current leader of the Supercars Championship. So that was a big storyline. He drove that car very well. Shows you how equal things are in the world of GT racing. So fired up the engines and we'll get ready for a start in this one. Rolling start, 60 minutes will be on the clock. The clock starts when the cars get to the control line. Garth Tander's making his way back up from a packed grid. Great vibe. GT, fantastic atmosphere down there. What are the weather conditions like, though? Because the breeze is still up, but bright and sunny at the moment at the island.
Well, actually a lot warmer than you think, Rich. So track temperature will be much higher. A lot of direct sunlight on the racetrack right now. And I had the jacket on, Rich, and I'm regretting that decision. It was quite warm down there. So, yeah, that'll be something they'll need to take into consideration when they manage the tyre over the course of the first half of this one.
That's the scene, and this is the location, the Phillip Island Grand Prix circuit. We're about 2 hours to the southeast of the centre of Melbourne and Tullamarine Airport, so it's an easy drive down here, and it gets really scenic for the last part of it as well. Great place to visit and stay, and lots of holiday homes down in this part of the world, and you really can understand why. This being one of the central attractions, the home of the Australian Motorcycle Grand Prix, the Australian Round of the World Superbike Championship, supercars endurance races, and all sorts of stuff over the journey. They've been racing on Phillip Island for 90 years. This is the racetrack, Garth. We shot this lap a little bit early with Paul Morris behind the wheel of the Scott Taylor Motorsport Porsche 911 GT3R.
Yeah, fantastic racetrack, and one that we all enjoy driving. It doesn't matter if you're a young driver making your way or an experienced hand like Paul Morris, who we're on board with here. You all enjoy Phillip Island. It's so fast, and like turn 3 here, for example, full noise, 5th gear, and then brake as late as you dare for turn 4 at Honda. Back to 2nd gear. Slowest, one of the slowest corners on the circuit. Great passing opportunity there. Then the run up to Siberia, aptly named Siberia because it is right on the tip of the ocean, not far away from Tasmania and Antarctica. It can be so cold over there, Richard Crail. And then this run up past the hay shed. That's actually called the hay shed because of that building right there on the left. You don't normally have time to have a look at it. As we go up and over Lukey Heights, where it's completely blind. You drive up and over the hill, 4th gear, carry as much momentum as you can before you plunge down into MG corner, slowest corner on the circuit, 2nd gear. Important to get a good run out of here because the momentum leaving MG corner through this second last corner and last corner will dictate the top speed at the end of the front straight. The last corner on a new tyre in qualifying is borderline flat out north of 215k an hour in 5th gear. It's a fantastic layout and one of the best circuits in Australia to drive a GT car.
And I've never seen so many fit young professional racing car drivers, elite athletes, nursing neck injuries this weekend. This place hard with the G-forces and everyone feeling the heat this weekend. There's the grid for you. So Ferrari 1st and 3rd. Jaden Ojeda did a super job in qualifying for the Tagani team with Paul Lucchetti to jump in that car for the second half. The AM class pole went the way of Ben Schutz and Shane Woodman. They go out of 12th position. Valentino Astudi and Darren Curry with the Aston Martin Vantage. They had gearbox issues in that car yesterday and then some electrical issues that were a flow-on effect from that car. So that's all rectified and good to go. They go out of 11th. Paul Morris, who we just had the lap with, starts alongside Scott Taylor out of 18th position. Mark Sini in the Hallmark Property Group Audi starts off the back of the grid. So that's the field. Everyone's set, stacked and ready to go. This is a great field. It is hugely competitive in this championship, balanced on a knife's edge going into the business end of the season with Ferrari and Mercedes AMG on the front row, Ferrari and Audi on the second row of the grid. Then there's an Audi and a Mercedes on row 3. What can the Aston Martin do today? Will that be a factor with Ross Polakis and Alex Gardner driving? But it will be Jaden Ojeda looking to race Chaz Mostert down towards turn 1. 60 minutes on the clock. Race 2, Fanatec GT World Challenge Australia launches into Sunday at Phillip Island. And it's Mostert who gets the better of the jumps from the front row of the grid. He's followed by his teammate Jackson Evans, who just shows the nose of the Arise Ferrari. He shows a little bit more than that, was almost side by side. The teammates on the run into turn 1, but ultimately Evans has to slot back into 3rd place. Ojeda has slotted into 2nd. Brendan Leach's upper spot. He's got in front of Will Brown and the Audis, and around goes a car mid-corner at the southern loop. Didn't catch it. It looked like a black AMG. It was.
Fraser.
Second time in 2 races. Triple Eight's been pointing at the wrong direction at turn 2.
There was plenty going on off the line. They were very tightly packed for the run through 1 and 2. And then as ultimately Fraser went around, and to your point, Rich, that's twice in 2 days. On the first lap, that car's been pointing the wrong direction at 2. So there now, Evans up the inside of Ojeda, and Leach is trying to go with him as well. Is the Audi able to clear? Yes, he is, before they turn in here Oh, too wide through the hay shed. You only can do that early because as the marbles build up, it gets very dirty offline. Now, Will Brown wants a piece of Jaden Ojeda. So this is answering the question for us, Rich. Are they going to be conservative early and look after the tyre? No chance. Ojeda now runs Leach out of road. Leach is not going to back out of that. He'll return the favour as they leave the second last corner.
A lot of pressure from the garages watching on. A lot of pressure on the racetrack. Ojeda fights that spot and gets the Audi back on the run through turn 11. So Ferrari 1 and 2 at the end of lap 1. Aggressive stuff from Jackson Evans. He centred around the outside at turn 4 at the hairpin. Was run out really wide, but was able to get that passed on the inside at Siberia. So Mostert, Evans, Ojeda, the top 3. Leach is next. Brenton Grove up a spot to 5th place. Will Brown down a couple in the Audi to 6th. Then it's Alex Peroni. Alex Gardner in the Aston Martin's got Brown. Valentino Astudi 2. David Brabham rounding out the top 10 at the moment. Now, the big talk in this, Garth, has been tyres. I will put money on the fact we'll see, if not tyre changes, some rotating of tyres going on in this race.
Yeah, I asked a few while I was down on the start grid. Oh, Will Brown bowls a little bit of a wide down at turn 4. He was into the back of Brenton Grove at turn 2 earlier this lap as well. So remember yesterday, Will Brown was stuck behind the number 4 Grove Mercedes for the entirety of the second stint. He does not want that to happen again today, so he's in a hurry to get by. Small mistake for Brown. But yeah, that was very cagey. All the team engineers and team managers were very cagey with me. They weren't telling me exactly what they were going to do, but I would expect particularly the mid and rear engine cars will, Leach, a massive moment over Lukey Heights, just gathers it up for MG. But I would expect that quite a few of these mid-engine cars, the Audis and Ferraris, will be changing tyres or moving them on the car, to your point, moving the outside tyre to the inside. Brown, a massive moment as well. The Audis are set up very nervous at the moment.
Yeah, a couple of teams saying they've got a set of rears ready to go, so they'll put 2 rear tyres on. And part of the theory behind that is when your AM driver gets in the car, you want the fronts up to temperature so the thing will turn in. The rears will come up quicker anyway because they're abused so much here. Speaking of abuse, out wide, sliding is Jaden Ojeda in the battle for 3rd and 4th. And does that open the door for the ITM Audi to get through? It's a big wobble on the exit of the corner there for the Juice. The 2 Ferraris driving away. Now, pit stop times. 90-second mandatory pit stop window for the pro cars. It opens at the halfway point as Ojeda defends on the run down. Brendan Leach will commit around the outside. There's almost no doubt about that. He has been the human highlights reel this season, and he gets the pass done.
Good job. You can get that done if you break deep enough around there. Leach, look at these cars moving around. Now Ojeda, the contact. So a little bit of carbon fibre comes off the front of the Mercedes. Now they'll go side by side again through the hay shed. Oh, now there's actually significant damage to the rear of Leach's car, so that's going to lose some downforce, but more importantly, is it going to rub on the tyre? You can see the smoke coming from the rear of the number 7 Audi. There's plenty of energy in the start of this one, Richard Crail.
Just checking the regs, it is an hour race, not 10 minutes. They didn't get a zero somewhere. Wow, hey, GT3 sprint racing. This is what happens when you put all the pros in the field on fresh tyres and ready to go.
Take a breath, because I feel like we need to. Evans, fastest lap of the race, still only at 27.1, so they are, although there's plenty of battling going on between cars, they are not lighting up the timing screen yet, bringing the tyre in more gently, and that's the way to do it. But the cars are now, Peroni massively wide into the gravel. Alex Gardner ranging up on the rear of him, but the amount of cars that we're seeing running wide at 1 before 2, I'm just checking the wind, it's the same direction as yesterday, same speed, so it's not like they're going faster down into turn 1, and that's catching them out. But we've seen Audis have moments down there, we've seen Mercedes have moments down there. That's certainly the biggest one we've seen so far for Alex Peroni.
This teenager, Alex Gardner, in that green and yellow Aston Martin, really nice little sign above the door. They've got the surname first, so it's Gardner, Alex Gardner, because of course it's an Aston Martin. So Valente Rosso challenging their inner James Bond. He's the reigning Radical champion in Australia, super fast young guy. I spoke to Josh Hunt, the team boss, last night, and he said, you know, ordinarily you'd be scared about handing over your brand new Aston Martin GT3 car to a teenager, but we just have no stress with him in the car. He's so sharp and very fast and very controlled. So this is another little moment coming on to Gardner Straight.
some bodywork. So Brendan Leach shedding bodywork after that contact with Jaden Ojeda, one of the rear turn-up flaps that sit behind the rear wheel, right next to the rear diffuser. And there's Peroni, seriously wide. Luckily, just edge of the gravel trap, gathers it all up. Alex Gardner isn't able to get it. Oh, no, you give the kid a wrap. Richard Crail.
Well, let's just wait till we see a replay, Garth.
But ultimately, the end result is there's an Aston Martin in the gravel trap, and it's not four-wheel drive. It's not going to dig itself out of there.
It's going to bring a safety car because that's not driving anywhere.
So that's the exit of MG in the second last corner.
Jaden Ojeda's in pit lane too, Garth. Mandatory window not open. So the Realtor Mercedes AMG has gone down to Tigani Autosport. And are they going to put a tyre on that car?
They're not rushing.
That was where the contact was.
It is. So whether they're just taking, now that it is safety car, but I would be making sure I get back out on the track and don't lose a lap here, but taking their time, having a look.
Well, our team will be all over that. I was going to make a point about the pit stops and the fact there is some penalty time assessed for success in this championship. So if you win, your 90-second pit stop is 90 seconds plus 15. If you're second, you get 10 seconds extra stationary time and then 5 seconds if you're third. So on that basis, the car in really good shape at the moment is Jackson Evans, getting that ground early, following his teammate. They have no extra time when we get to the pit stop. So when Elliott Chute gets in, he's going to get a little 15-second free kick versus his teammate.
As is Brendan Leach, as is the Grove car, as is Will Brown. So 4 or 5 of the top 6 with no pit stop time added to their compulsory pit stop. So this is why, here we go, we get an understanding of why we are under safety car. So Jade is actually wide. And so he's wide coming back off. And now Gardner, I think, has tried to go around the outside and there's been contact. So secondary contact for the number 66 Mercedes. Gardner finds himself in the gravel trap. Ojeda finds himself in pit lane. And the entire field finds itself under safety car. But that started right back in the braking zone at MG for this car. So I wonder whether there was some damage from that contact with Leach that's then caused Ojeda to have a moment at braking zone at MG and then further contact with the Aston Martin. But that Aston Martin's had no luck since landing in Australia.
Cam?
They're about to park up the Ojeda car, as you can see at the moment. He's complaining about the steering going left to right. They couldn't see any damage with it, but they've taken the wheels off, had a look, and they're now putting it back in the bunker, as you can see.
Thanks, Cam. The only worst place to have steering dramas in a race car would be Bathurst, but this would be second only, such are the high speeds this weekend.
So Jaden's clearly felt that there's something not right with the steering rack. You can see the team looking for play in the steering system, just trying to rock the wheels backwards and forwards, but I would hazard a guess that that's why Jaden Ojeda was wide at the braking zone at MG after the run over Lukey Heights, but then further contact with Alex Gardner. It's not going to make the steering rack feel better, Richard Crail.
It's not, Garthander. So the BMW safety car will lead the field. The Ferraris 1 and 2, Audi and then Mercedes AMG in front of Will Brown and Alex Peroni surviving that big moment. The big winner out of all of this, GT, is Valentino Astuti, who's 7th in the trophy class Aston Martin. That's the old spec car, which is why it runs in trophy. So that's a generation old. That car still runs the V12 power plant. Sounds glorious.
Goes fast.
It does.
Clearly.
Yes.
It's running inside the top 10.
Valentino Astuti driving it extremely well.
So what does this do, Richard Crail? Because yesterday we had a safety car early in the race to give the tyre a bit of a rest, and then we went green for the end, and we still saw some dramas with the cars that didn't change tyres late in the race. So does this change your strategy? Do you roll the dice and now not change your tyre? The advantage of not changing the tyre in the pit stop is that when you leave pit lane, you have a warm tyre on. You don't have to bring the tyre up to temperature, and you don't lose time on the outlap. The downside is there's high jeopardy, high risk that will the tyre last the entirety of the 60 minutes.
Well, why don't we ask someone who's been on the racetrack in the last hour or so. We had David Brabham in the commentary box during the GT4 race. So the GT3 race, we've got his son Sam, who's up here in the commentary box. Good afternoon, Sam. Welcome to you. Cracking day at the island, isn't it? And a bit of action already in this race.
Yeah, the GT3s love going into each other at the recent races, but the weather's beautiful. GT Festival, the first one here at Phillip Island, and the atmosphere on the grid before the race, the GT4 and the GT3 race, was unbelievable. And the little podium area out the front, I think, is one of the coolest additions. It's been really, really special.
First and most obvious question. cool to be racing with your old man. Same garage, you're in GT4, he's in GT3. It's great to see him here.
Yeah, it's really special. It's been a long time coming. We've been working over the last few years just to find an opportunity to get him out here, and the opportunity arose with Chris Batsios, an old teammate of mine, and it's just special. You know, yesterday we finished on the podium in P2 and GT4, and gave him a big hug, and he said how special it was that he could be here for that. So hopefully he goes just as good, but we'll have to wait and see how the race pans out.
We'll come back with Sam Brabham up here in the commentary box. In the meantime, back to the lane, here's Jonathan Simon.
I'm with Ross Polakis. Obviously, unfortunately, that Aston Martin AMR is in the gravel trap at the moment. What have you made of what's going on?
Look, unfortunately, it looks like we've been hit by the same car we were yesterday, which is a bit frustrating. Like two times in a row, it's just, yeah, a bit frustrating. But as I said, Alex made a really good start. We don't know if we can get back out or not. We're about to find out. But yeah, initial thought process is, yeah, pretty upset.
And I feel the pain. Obviously, you sound very dejected. But on the radio, has he said anything about damage so far? Do you know the extent of what's happened?
No, I don't. I'm not on the radio, so I'm not too sure. As I said, I just saw it and kind of my heart sank for him because he's started off really well, and yeah, he was starting to get into a good rhythm. He deserves a chance to be out there, but again, unfortunately, I guess that's racing.
Sorry to hear, mate.
Thanks, guys. Hello to my daughter Sophia too.
Yeah, got to get the
very important.
Very important. Let them go away car racing, so you need the plug. So, yeah, an unfortunate incident, and we can give you another look at that in a sec because it's a fairly big moment in the race.
So we pick up here with the Aston Martin coming down, and Ojeda just gathering it back up. Gardner trying to get around the outside. To be honest, Ojeda didn't have a whole lot of real estate left on the inside for him and wouldn't really have been aware that Gardner would be coming around the outside. So an unfortunate circumstance, both cars going for the same bit of real estate. It is critical to be on the apex there, and I do half wonder whether Ojeda was actually even coming to the lane then regardless because of that steering drama. But ultimately, the end result is the Aston Martin of Alex Gardner found himself in the gravel trap. Ojeda and that car is out of the race, and we went under BMW safety car. Cam Vandenuggen's in pit lane. He has more.
Yeah, just a quick update for you on the Leach car, guys. The team down here at Audi Custom Sport Racing started mobilising, scrambling. They thought he had a puncture. There was a bit of bodywork rubbing on the car. It cleared itself, is how the team determined a bit of bodywork falling off, and the car seems to be good to go.
So shedding components, it cleared itself.
Lightweighting the race car mid-race.
That's such a motorsport term, isn't it? So the field packs up and we'll get this one back underway. So 46 minutes to go in this. The pit stop window for the AM class cars opens 25 minutes into the race and runs 5 minutes. The Pro-Am cars will run to the 30-minute mark and then they'll be able to dive into pit lane. We go back to green. Lucky to have Sam Brabham with us up here in the commentary box, so we'll have his insight in the early stages of this race as the Ferraris go 1 and 2. Chaz Mostert, Jackson Evans next, then Brendan Leach. How quick will the Kiwi be early on to try and drag that Audi a little bit further up the field? That's the shot over Gardner Straight and down towards turn 1 at 260 k's an hour. Back of shot is Valentino Astudi hanging on to professional racing car drivers. He's a Formula Ford graduate. He'll love this.
So Leach, a big benefactor of this safety car because it's given him the opportunity to get onto the rear bumper of Jackson Evans and Chaz Mostert. We saw just how fast he was in yesterday's race, resetting the lap record multiple times. And I spoke to him on the grid and I said, so what's the plan, mate? Are you going to conserve? And he said, no chance. So he'll be loving this opportunity that now he's got the chance to have a crack at the two Ferraris who have been so fast here all weekend. And they'll be looking forward to having a battle with Leach, but in the back of your mind, you are going to have to save the tyre. It is hotter today, it is warmer. There will be more energy going through the tyre, particularly the right rear, and that's the one that we saw fail on the Evans Ferrari and the Leach Audi. And even our race leader yesterday and race winner, Chaz Mostert, they found damage on that tyre after the race. They felt like the number one car wasn't going to do another lap. So they're lucky it wasn't a 61-minute race.
Yeah, walked the car home in the end, did Chaz to bring it home. Sam, while everyone's getting back up to speed, you guys had a solid recovery today in the Monochrome GT4 race. Unfortunate dramas early with the car popping into limp mode, but a great comeback drive and P5 in the end.
Yeah, it was such a shame for Antonio. He started fourth and we had some green tyres to throw at the car early on as well. So yeah, shame about the limp mode. I think it was just a crossover on brake and throttle where the car doesn't quite like it, just for a bit too long. And what's happened is the limp mode started. So we came at turn 4 and did a reset. Car was fine afterwards, and we were just so hustled up. Towards the end, the tyre was starting to give up a little bit too much, but I loved every second of it. It's one of those, you've got nothing to lose, so you've got to give it everything and have a crack.
Yeah, I noticed you actually set the fastest lap of your car on the last lap, so clearly the car was very, very strong. You felt comfortable.
Yeah, I think at the time we were lapping faster than the leaders, and yesterday with the P2, we felt like we could really go and compete today, even with the 10-second pit stop penalty that we had from the success penalty. So it was one of those tricky ones. Towards the end, the front tyre particularly was struggling a lot. I was having to have a big lift into the last corner to try and get the thing to turn, but it's been awesome fun. And for Bailey and Rob, father and son, it's their first weekend racing together in the same car, and they managed to get a podium, which is really, really special for them.
Yeah, you touched on that when we caught up earlier in the weekend, that it was a cool opportunity for them, but also for you and Antonio to drive together as well, which really made that car an outright contender. So is that something you're going to look at building on for the rest of the year?
I think that's up to the boss, Rob, to be honest with you. I mean, like, we're really grateful that Rob's given us both the opportunity to race this year, because without him, we wouldn't be doing it. So we try to give everything we can to the boys and coach them to the level that we feel they can get to. But the chance to, Antonio's a really good mate of mine, and he's a really fast driver and someone that I thought, really deserved an opportunity at this level. And he, in recent races, he's really shown that. And yesterday he drove outstandingly to keep that BMW behind him for so long.
Yeah, it was a mega race yesterday, that one between Bircher and Antonio. Now, we had your old man up here in the box during your race, and I asked him, how does David Brabham, the race car driver, go as being Sam Brabham's dad when you're racing? And he said, no, I'm really, really calm, and it's really, really enjoyable, and it's really, really seemed like low heart rate. I would just like to get the alternative view on that, whether that's actually true.
That is true, to be fair. I think when I first started, in karting, probably worse, because I was trying to figure myself out. And once I got into race cars, we had a couple of blow-ups, as you do with your dad every now and again. 1 minute he's telling you to clean your room, and then the next minute he's telling you how to drive faster through a corner. So sometimes that balance is a little bit tricky, but he's actually, I'm so lucky to have someone like him with his experience and his knowledge. And I feel that even with my coaching with other drivers like Bailey and Rob, how I can impart a lot of those principles and those things onto other people. And having him here this weekend's been pretty special. And before every time I get in the car, he just says, have fun, give it your best, and that's all.
You're both in Mercedes AMGs, one GT3, one GT4, about 10 seconds a lap difference between them. But have you been able to compare notes about track conditions, about tyre life and things like that?
A little bit. In some ways a little bit separate, but we always come back together. I've watched his onboard, he's watched mine. Obviously, I've spent a lot of time at this circuit, so it's somewhere I feel like I'm quite strong, and he hasn't been here in 15 years properly. So we were talking about a couple of lines, a couple of things he can try and think about, and he's more than willing to listen to me nowadays rather than the other way around, which is quite nice to get to that point with your dad.
It's funny, he was saying, there's been a lot of chat this weekend about the grip level here at Phillip Island, how high it is. He was saying with all his experience, he's never driven on a track that has the grip like this anywhere in the world. So we're very fortunate to have this racetrack here in Australia and to enjoy it. But we often celebrate the GT3 cars about how exciting they are to drive as well. But it really looked like the GT4 cars. You could really get into it and hustle them, and they were moving around nicely, and they looked like a fun car to drive.
They're really fun, and I think the lack of downforce that the majority of them have actually helps, because you have to really wrestle the car and fight with it to get the speed out of the car. And with the surface change, our cars probably were doing a low 1 minute 38, and now we're in the 34s. We're 4 seconds a lap quicker just from a surface change, where corners that you thought maybe it's not flat, maybe it is, now just easy flat, you don't even think about it. So, and we're so lucky. I mean, this place is really special. The views, the way the circuit is, and just as well as everyone Garth, it's a special place to come racing and come and watch.
Will Brown living the same story that he lived yesterday, which was being stuck behind a Mercedes AMG with a big Grove sticker on the rear bar, because he is harassing the back of Brenton Grove but unable to find his way past yet. They're fighting over 4th and 5th position. Alex Peroni tucked onto the back of them in the Team BRM entry. They've just gapped Valentino Astudi in that trophy class Aston, who's got David Brabham behind him. But this is the closest battle on the racetrack at the moment, 4th and 5th place. Mostert still leads, less than a second over Jackson Evans, his teammate from Arise Racing, and then Brendan Leach in 3rd. It's just dropped off the back slightly of those two Ferraris, but there's not a huge amount in it. And remember, they've got a little bit of a pit stop advantage coming their way when we get to the mandatory pit stops later on. On that, Sam, how do you factor that into the race? When you go into a race like you did today, where you had a 10-second extra mandatory pit stop time, How do you sit down when you're planning out your race and go, okay, how do we mitigate that? How do we work around it? How do we try and minimise that extra time you need to spend in the lane?
It's a really tricky one because at the same time, at the start of the race, you want to try and make up as much time as possible and try and gap potentially those cars that are going to be behind you or the cars ahead of you that are going to have a little bit less time in a pit stop. But that also takes tyre life away. You can also, especially with the GT3s this weekend, potentially cause issues later in the race. So it's a real balancing act. And I think once that second driver hops in the car, that's when the game changes, where you know where you sit towards the end of the race and you can go, right, we know where our gap is. This is the sort of lap time we've got to try and produce. And for the amateurs, that's a real challenge. And you know, the quality of driver in the GT3s and the teams, they're all thinking about it, but it's a really tricky game to play.
Yeah, it's a good point you made, because prior to the pit stop window, you often think, well, why would you bother? You just wait for the pit stop window and let the cycle play out. But you're effectively racing for track position for your co-driver to help them out, to help them on their outlap, to help them during their stint. So Will Brown, for example, can get past Brenton Grove. It makes life a lot easier for Brad Schumacher.
Yeah.
These guys will both have the same pit stop time. So really, you're really helping your co-driver as much as you can now.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, you see the way that Will's right up beside him, and yesterday obviously struggled a little bit more to get past, and the strengths of the Audi in comparison to the Mercedes play out in this situation as well. And you know, for Will, he'll just be trying to get past as quick as he can, like you say, to help Brad to generate as much lap time as possible to get closer and closer to the guys who do have those pit stop penalties later in this race.
The results don't show on paper what Brad Schumacher went through here at the start of the season, because he and Tim Miles had a remarkable race for a very, very long time, and then he ultimately dropped back to third position at the end of that race that Miles and Brendan Leach had a win here. It was race 2 of the championship, but it was awesome stuff. So Brad is as feisty and competitive as anybody. The unofficial mayor of Bathurst was out last night at dinner with the unofficial mayor of Orange as well, as he just sticks the nose up the inside. So I don't know who's running the Central West of New South Wales at the moment.
Exactly, who's running the Central West? Both the mayors are here racing race cars around Phillip Island.
But just had a little look there, Garth, didn't he, at turn 11?
Yeah, so what Will's trying to do there is he's trying to keep the front of the car in clear air. So by Brendan Grove being out nice and wide and swinging for a late apex, Will's taking the opportunity to get as much air on that front splitter in the front of the car as he can, because that will generate downforce, front downforce for Will Brown to enable him to be closer to the car on exit. Ultimately, you do find in the middle of the corner, you will follow the car directly and you lose a bit of front, but the more front turning you can do early in the corner, that's why Will Brown is always looking to the inside. It's not for a pass, it's just trying to get more downforce in the front of the car.
And we do talk about Brenton being the part-time racing car driver now, but it's worth keeping in mind that he and Will Brown raced each other in open wheelies in Australian Formula 4, and then were basically on a similar sort of pathway up through the junior category ranks. Brenton went into Porsche Sprint Challenge and then into Super 2, and then elected to follow the business pathway. So he's an accomplished racing car driver and doing a great job, as you touched on earlier, Garth, leading the current leader of the Supercars Championship. So this is a good tick in the box for Brenton.
Yeah, it was great to have a chat with them both on the grid prior to the race, because they were literally joking about it. So I was, hey, you two don't leave, I want to talk about this on TV. And they were great to spend some time with us. But yeah, to your point, I mean, they both were on the same career trajectory. And Will Brown has gone on with the racing car driver thing to lead the Supercars Championship. So there was a fair bit of pride at stake between the two of them, because, you know, you often look, when you're a race car driver, you look across at someone like Brenton who's gone into the business world and has been very, very successful at it. You go, oh, maybe I should have done that. And Brenton's looking at Will Brown going, oh, maybe I should have stayed and been a race car driver. Ultimately, they find themselves on the racetrack together and they're not going to let each other pass. It's as simple as that.
Will had an unfortunate start to his weekend where he was driving to the airport in Brisbane and realised he'd booked a flight to Melbourne Avalon instead of Melbourne Tullamarine. So he should probably stick to flying his own plane to the races, I think, young William. Or get someone else to book his travel.
Yeah, or that's probably the safe thing, get someone else to book your travel. But
surely when you're leading the Supercars Championship, you can afford to get someone to manage your travel for you.
Race car drivers don't like parting with their own money.
He is a used car dealer.
And he is a car salesman, so that's the worst of both worlds, if you like, as far as parting with your own cash and opening your wallet. So I found it incredibly amusing, the fact that a guy that's more than an accomplished pilot himself, who could have flown himself down here, booked a ticket to the wrong airport, so had to rent a car and drive an extra hour to get himself down here to Phillip Island.
The compulsory pit stop window is now open for the AM and Trophy class cars, so the mandatory stops can commence from now. The pro cars have still got to wait another 5 minutes, but expect to see some action in pit lane. So just to bring you up to speed on the AM class, it's It's being led by Ben Schutz at the moment. He's in 10th position outright on the road. Marcel Zalua in 2nd place in the Valmont racing car. They were the winners yesterday. They've won 3 times this season now. And in the 2 rounds beforehand, they won the Saturday race and DNF'd on Sunday. So their job today is see the checkered flag, and that will be a success. And 3rd in class is Ash Samadi. 4th, Mike Sheargold with Garth Walden. They're the championship leaders in the AM class.
I spoke to Marcel as he literally walked off the podium after yesterday's race win. I said, oh, good job, well done. And he was already, we have to do it tomorrow. So no time to celebrate Saturday's race win. It was all about making sure they have some form of result today. So great to see even in the AM class just how competitive it is and just how much it means.
This is Declan Fraser chasing down Valentino Astudi. So it is for track position, but not for class. Valentino leading the trophy class. And Declan goes down the inside for Triple Eight. So yet again, that team has to have a big recovery drive from the back of the field. Actually, I wanted to ask you about that, Sam. So the only similarity between the 2 races, there's 2 qualifying sessions set the grid for them. The only similarity between them is if you finish race 1, you start race 2. But otherwise, it's completely jumbled up, isn't it? And it makes it hard to sort of replicate what you did on Saturday because you're starting from a different position. The strategy is going to be different. Makes it hard to sort of plan ahead.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the consistency you get in a sort of a single driver race in comparison to the 2 driver where the qualifyings are different, the race times are different from the pit stop windows, and obviously where you finish, you're going to end up getting success penalties as well. It really jumbles it up, and particularly with the guys in the AM class, they've got to choose maybe their better driver for the second race that we're in now. But then to try and that second driver, as you can see some pit stops happening now on the Honduras car, just to try and then build that second driver into the race and manage those gaps is really important.
You spoke earlier, Sam, you're not really sure whether what happens even for the next round, whether you get another crack with young Astudi in the GT4 cast, but ultimately, where would you like to get to? You've done some GT3 stuff, you've done some GT4 stuff. Where does Sam Brabham want to be racing more often?
To be honest with you, I'm sort of at the point in my career where for the first time, I'm having to find money to go racing, and if I can continue to do that and stay in this sport for the long term. But for me personally, it's also about building the blocks for the Brabham family and the Brabham name as well here in Australia. So I really want to try and make the most of that opportunity we have from a business perspective, a little bit more so than just being a racing driver, because I think it's important, particularly with, like I said, the opportunity over here with the name. What it means is there's a high ceiling, I think, for what we can do.
I want to open it up that a little bit more, because people might think, well, you got the surname Brabham, your grandfather was a world champion, your father David's a highly successful sports car driver. Surely it's easy for you. I mean, you just walk in a door and someone gives you a whole bag of money and you go racing, but it's certainly not the case.
No, I wish that'd be nice. I mean, sometimes I speak about this a lot with lots of different people, and for me personally, I moved from the UK to Australia because I wasn't doing any racing, and sort of spent 5-6 years with no seat, and even was told we can't take you on because you're a Brabham. It's not a good look for us. And sometimes, especially when I was younger, that hurt a little bit, but there's no sweeter feeling than forging it for yourself in some way, almost away from Dad, as much as I miss them terribly across the year with them being overseas. But to be able to get to this point in my career sort of on my own and be able to forge those relations, forge those partnerships, to be able to put myself in that position makes me feel even more proud, and I know my parents probably feel very much the same as well.
Pit stops continuing. So Ben Schutz, the leader in the AM class in pit lane. We're talking to Sam Brabham, who's up here in the commentary box with us. There's the Valmont Racing Mercedes, Audi R8, I should say, leaving the lane. So Sergio Perez will take over that car for the second half of the race. The other interesting thing, GT, is how do you know a pit stop's coming? Everyone goes really fast, trying to maximise their track position before they peel off to the lane. And a bunch of the cars in that leading Pro-Am group have all set personal best laps on lap 17. So Brenton Grove at 27.5, 27.7 for Will Brown. Alex Peroni set the personal best lap for the Team BRM car in 6th place last time by. So they're all building up. Marcel Zalua unhappy. Little character reference for the team next door. Get to the bottom of that with the boys in the lane, actually. Now, surely that's related to something on track that's occurred.
Or coming into the box, and whether the other team was sort of unaware that Marcel was pulling into his lane. Because if you're going backwards up pit lane to the garage and you drive past on the way into your box, generally it might be maybe that there was something impeding his way into his pit stop.
There's the Tigani Autosport team. Pro-Am pit window now open, so the leaders can all get to the lane when they choose to do so.
And the game there, Rich, is given we have all the Pro-Am cars have got the pros in it, they'll go as deep into this window as they dare to maximise the amount of time that the pro drivers are in the car, given they generally make more lap time. Declan Fraser making his way past Scott Taylor. He's currently second in the trophy class, so the fight back for the 888 Mercedes again. We saw this yesterday, for that car fighting back after contact at turn 2, and they found themselves backwards at the start of this race. Did a really good job yesterday to get themselves on the podium.
Yeah,
outright. Declan just bowling a little wide there, leaving Siberia. Quite very expensive lawnmower, I think. AMG GT3 Mercedes.
Quite a few cars dropping wheels off in the exit of that corner all weekend long. And it caught James Konduras out in Friday practice, actually, in the 47 Superbun Supermarkets car, dropped a wheel off and it fired the car across into the fence. So Theo, brother of, behind the wheel at the moment. Two Canberrans doing a good job.
Just looking out the window, Richard Crail, and the wind has come up significantly. So although there's no real threat of rain at the moment, the wind is huge. And Sam, we talk a lot about the wind and the wind direction and how much wind there is here at Phillip Island, because it is quite exposed. But how much does it actually make a difference to the cars when you're driving?
Oh, I mean, even more so in the GT3 cars, more so than the GT4. But even the GT4 into turn 1, as soon as you turn in, the front just starts to understeer massively as we've got that real tailwind down the straight. And there's a car off. Can't quite see who that is, the Black Wolf Motorsport car, but
Shane Woodman, that was our class leader in AM. That's down at MG.
So for those that haven't done their MPS, this is going to be massively beneficial. Oh, have a look at this.
The wind.
So that's the wind. Our officials at the end of
Don't worry about understeer at turn 1, Sam Brabham. They've lost all the grid sheets.
Someone needs a clipboard for those. That might be a little bit safer.
You're going to get a bit of reflex under your front tyre.
So what's happening now, given that the window is open for all the Pro-Am cars, is they're trying to get back to pit lane before any potential safety car might come out.
Well, at Queensland,
too late.
At Queensland Raceway, they did stop under yellow, so they let it play out because the sequence was already underway. So there's really no way you can play that out without letting them in. But I would bet you every single car will be in the lane right now.
I can see that. I can see it.
They're all peeling off. So Mostert is in. Arise are going to stack the Ferraris, but that's all right. They can service both at the same time. Brendan Leach next. Actually, it burnt the Ferraris here last time we were at Phillip Island at the start of the year because one car got into anti-stall and it held the other one up. Probably cost them a race win. This is why we're under the control of the BMW safety car. Darren Curry down the inside of Ben Schutz and nerfed him into a spin at MG.
Side will be the argument that each party will have. Is it side or rear? So I would imagine that the 16 crew will say, no, you got me in the rear. And the 38 crew, or Darren Curry at the wheel, will say, no, I was up the inside. And that is the eternal argument over incidents like that. And thankfully, we have Motorsport Australia Race Control and Craig Baird to deal with that stuff. And Richard Crail and Garl Tander don't have to adjudicate.
I was going to say, you've become such a diplomat.
You learn early in your television career that you don't apportion blame. You let someone else do that. So pit stops everywhere. Everyone's in the lane that wasn't prior.
And just cycling through to the top. So electing not to stop that time by car 34 with one D Brabham behind the wheel. So he's going to lead a lap before the MPS. That's cool.
Well, he's going to claim that as well. My mum will be excited back in England.
You want to take a photo of the screen for him? So.
I think Mum's already done it, I would suggest.
So everyone waiting now. So it's 90 seconds mandatory stop time. There goes the Dale ITM car. So Tim Miles jumps behind the wheel. Brad Schumacher smokes the Pirellis and leaves the lane. And once again, that Audi is going to be bottled up behind the Grove Group car. Cameron?
Just a couple of updates down here, guys, on the Will Brown entry, which he's just handed over to Brad Schumacher. They changed right rear only. On the Tim Miles car, he's back on track. They changed both rear tyres. And on Marcel Zalua, that was actually frustration with his own team. He had an issue with his window net. So just a bit of red mist creeping in down there for Marcel Zalua.
Yeah, and it's actually cost them a little bit of track position, Cam, as well. Thank you. So a longer stop for the 44 car. They spent 2 minutes in pit lane. They lost 25 seconds relative to their nearest rivals. And this safety car has been very good for them.
Well, is that the Sunday curse hitting the 44 again? Thankfully, they've got a bit of time to catch back up. Will Brown is catching his breath. He's worked a bit of a sweat up. There's young Will.
I said it at the start. I've never seen so many fit young professional racing car drivers working their neck muscles this weekend. they are all copping a massive workout.
Well, David Brabham, when he was in your race, Sam, he was saying, I thought I was, I haven't done as much racing lately, and I thought I was feeling a bit weak. And then he had a chat to Will Brown and Brendan Leach, and they were both complaining that their neck was sore. So, I don't feel so bad now.
It certainly made him feel good about himself. I know that much.
But it is such high load, and it's the run onto the front straight where you come out of MG around the second last corner onto the front straight. I remember when I was racing the Audi here, you'd often just rest your head against the seat and not take any load out of your neck. So it works so hard, your body, around Phillip Island. Let's hear more from Cam in pit lane.
Well, I actually thought I'd grab two of those young drivers you were talking about. Garth Tander saying just how physical this track is with the grip at the moment. It's a bit of hard work out there, Will Brown.
Yeah, it's really fast out there through turn one. You really feel it. Your neck goes against the side of the seat. But no, it was great to be out there. It was pretty loose then, though, that's for sure.
Did I see a right rear change, only the one tyre?
Yeah, I could hear it again like yesterday when I slowed down. Just something sounded funny in the right rear, so we thought we'd change a tyre, which we planned to do anyway.
All right, and I've got Brenton Leach as well, mate. We've got a bit worried there. It looked like you might come in. Did you think you have a puncture early on in that one due to contact?
Yeah, it was a bit of a shame. Jade and I had a nice battle there, and I'm not sure what happened to him in the end there. Maybe something from it, but yeah, everything seemed okay in the end. But after that, I was just being super cautious and completely staying off the curbs and just staying with the front guys. And I wanted to give Tim the best opportunity possible so he can absolutely, go for it now, and let's see where we end up.
And to Garth's point just a minute ago, neck got a fair workout, I'd imagine?
Yeah, it did. I need a day in a Formula 3 car, I think, to get this thing back up to scratch around here. Yeah.
All right, mate, good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Cam. Brendan rushes off to Tullamarine tonight and jumps on a plane to Austria because he's got a 2-day Lambo Super Trofeo test coming up this week. So the life of a professional international GT superstar. But he's done what he needed to do. He's put that car second. So on the corrected order, Lego Man's here. The corrected order, it will be Elliott Shute leading the race in the number 8 Arise Racing Ferrari. Tim Miles second, Stephen Grove third, Brad Schumacher fourth. And that extra 15 seconds has dropped Liam Talbot, the race leader. Chaz Mostert led early, back to 5th place. Jonathan.
I'm over at Arise Racing GT. Obviously, we heard yesterday about the tyre troubles. That number 1 of Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot barely made it to the checkered flag with a tyre that was essentially afterwards in parc fermé. They found it was punctured. We spoke about that earlier on in our coverage, of course. But the tyres are in good nick at the moment. The ones over to the left-hand side over there, they're the ones that seem like there's no issues with the camber. You can see they're all in good condition. So at the moment, after their first stint, you'd have to say they're in good nick to finish off this race strongly. But you never know. Maybe with the overnight adjustments, they're probably in better nick compared to yesterday.
Good point Jonathan makes. And just looking at the timing screen, fastest lap of the race so far was the number 1 Ferrari when Chaz Mostert was at the wheel, and that's at 26.9. Brendan Leach's lap record from yesterday is at 25.5. Now, these cars do go faster later in the race as they burn fuel, but I hazard a guess that it's not 1.4 seconds faster. So there's clearly been some adjustments made setup-wise to take some performance out of the car, but give it some tyre longevity. Then the way that the drivers, particularly the pro drivers at the start, whilst they were battling hard, they were also managing the tyre because the lap times are certainly nowhere near as fast as yesterday.
So the BMW safety car, the actual race leader will be Elliott Shute, but just the way the stops have occurred with the safety car timing, they haven't actually picked up the leader. So they've picked up Paul Stokel in the OnlyFans number 181 car, who's very, very fast. So they'll get a wave by on that, get those cars around, and then pick up car number 8. The young West Aussie, Elliott Shute, who's another to come out of Radical Cup competition from the West. Actually won a driver search program that Arise Racing ran a couple of years ago and popped onto the scene and has been very quick in the Radicals ever since, very competitive, and shifted into the GT program this year alongside Jackson Evans. And then Tim Miles is going to be second and Stephen Grove third. So a heap of experience at the pointy end of this field. Brad Schumacher and Liam Talbot, a champion in the category among them. And this will be a proper sprint race to the end. And this has been quite a lengthy recovery because they've had to put the Black Wolf Mercedes AMG on the truck. So for whatever reason, they haven't been able to flat toe that car back to the lane. So all this is doing is just setting up even more intensity at the end of the race with now less than 20 minutes to go.
It will be the case. And to your point, Rich, once they've cleared the number 16 Black Wolf AMG Mercedes from MG corner and get that out of the way, they'll likely wave these first 4 or 5 cars through and pick up Elliott Shute as the race leader prior to the restart, so that we have a nice clean restart with the leaders at the front of the field, so they're able to battle it out. So the 3 cars at the front, or the 4 cars at the front, are the 4 cars that did not have any additional compensation time after yesterday's race. The 1 car of Talbot and Mostert, currently 5th, so from the lead back to 5th with that additional 15 seconds. Rosser and Peroni, they were 2nd. They find themselves yesterday, they find themselves down in 6th. And Peter Hackett and Declan Fraser, who are continuing to fight back, they actually find themselves 7th, 3rd of the cars that had the compensation time from yesterday's race.
So just a little bit of housekeeping. Car number 8 is yet to win this season, so their best result was 2nd in the opening race of the year. It was a 1-2 for the Arise Racing team. They've had a couple of podiums since then, but their last 3 races, 4th, 6th and 9th. So they've been looking for a result, and they're one of the few in the top half a dozen in the championship yet to win a race this year. We've had, this is the 8th race in the championship. We've had 6 different race winners this season. It's been pretty remarkable. So we're getting closer to a restart now. Through all the pit stop stuff, Ash Samadhi has worked his way to the front in the AM class. So Ash is a race winner this year back at Phillip Island, so it was race 2 of the championship. So he's now been waved by as well. But he's going to have Theo Konduras locked up behind him in the Superbarn car yet to win in the AM class this season. They're both going to have to deal with Garth Walton though, who is one of the quickest AM drivers in the country and is back in 3rd place in car 45, and that is the 3rd car in that queue.
Yeah, I feel like there's a bit of that'll take place. One in the AM class, to your point, Rich, with Garth Walton trying to make his way back to the front and get past Konduras and Samadhi, but then also you have Brad Schumacher, Liam Talbot and Mark Rosser, and they were the 3 fastest of the AM combinations in the Pro-Am class at the start of yesterday's race. So they'll be looking forward to going forwards once we go green again. Still 17.5 minutes left in this one, and I can see from our vantage point that the number 16 Black Wolf Motorsport car has been collected and is headed back to pit lane. So a shame for that team. They were actually leading AM class prior to the pit stop window and outside of the pit stop window. So a shame for that team to not go on, and they're actually being taken off the track now. So hopefully we're not far away from going green.
Sam, how do you get yourself in a headspace for a race restart like this when there's going to be 15 minutes on the clock and a fair amount to play out in a short space of time?
It's a tricky one. You've got to just focus up, make sure the tyre temp, brake temp's up as high as you can get it before those safety car lights go out. And there's actually a fair bit of distance from Hayshed pretty much all the way to the main straight, and it will depend on how that leader decides when to go as well, because yesterday we had a safety car in our race when I was in the car, and the leader went pretty much at the control line. And I was kind of thinking to myself, I really need to get more temp in the tyres, but it kind of changes the profile of how you can attack the corner, but you just got to try and hustle up. And particularly for someone like Talbot in 5th, when Schumacher probably feel like they might be quicker than some of the cars ahead of them, they're going to be just eyes forwards and trying to hustle up as much as they can to get past those cars and gain those positions.
Just had something pop up on our timing screen, Garth. Car 4, which is the Grove car, has had a warning for pit entry line speed. It's rare you get a warning and not get a penalty.
It's very, very rare that you get warned. It's not like you're coming in again, so it's not like you have to be extra careful next time.
Being benevolent downstairs.
I have not seen that one popped up before. So car 4 is Brenton and Stephen Grove in their Grove Racing AMG Mercedes, currently 3rd. So they're on alert for next time that car comes to pit lane, which, all going well, will be the end of the race. So there is a lapped car trapped here, guys. So the Sergio Perez, Marcel Zalua, number 44. So that 20 seconds was potentially the difference between being at the front of Elliott Shute and getting the wave by and getting trapped behind the leader. So they weren't able, if you're trapped behind the leader, you don't get the wave by when they pick the leader up. So one, you've effectively lost a lap, but 2, you're stuck between the 2 combatants for the outright late race lead. And Tim Miles is not going to be patient to come through the lap car, because he does not want Elliott Shute to have an opportunity to gain an advantage on this safety car restart.
Well, and at the same time, Sergio will back himself to run with Elliott and with Tim in terms of raw speed as well. The cars are the same, and Sergio will be confident that he can go with it. So if he can get past Elliott Shute, and maybe there's another quick safety car at the end. I know there's only 15 minutes to go, but he can then cycle round to the back of the field. But yeah, that rules them out of contention potentially for a podium in the AM class barring any dramas for the other competitors. So the light's still on the safety car. Should be one more lap. The Mercedes has been recovered from MG corner, and we'll get this one back underway. And this, every lap behind the safety car is one less lap that Elliott Shute has to deal with an angry field trying to work their way through for a race win, and confirmation that the safety car will come in this lap.
You don't be all glass half empty, Richard Craill.
No, I'm a glass half full kind of guy, Gus.
It's less opportunity for Elliott Shute to extend the lead. So you've got to think more glass half full, Richard Craill. And that certainly, as race car drivers, you'll always back yourself in to be able to do that.
I've seen enough of Elliott's racing to know he's capable. One Mate Radical Racing is very competitive. He's done a good job. In fact, last year went wheel to wheel with Alex Gardner, who won the championship. And Alex has been pretty talented in that Aston Martin this weekend. All right, call it. Who's your money on? Come on.
Based on what we saw at the start of this race when the pros were in the car and they all went crazy and ran into each other, there's no chance, with the intensity level being even higher now and different drivers being in the car after an extended safety car period of time, that I think that it's going to stay like this. There is going to be something is going to go down in the 13.5 minutes that we have left in race 2 today.
Good non-answer. Thank you, Sam.
I probably agree, to be fair. I think it's
He's
so
picking up this commentary last
yeah,
quickly.
First time. Let me know how I'm going. I'd say the same. I think Schumacher and Talbot are going to be big to watch here. They're two guys that are super, super fast amateurs, almost at the level of quite a lot of pros. So how they manage to get through a track that's not necessarily the best for overtaking in a lot of areas, but the likes of Turn 4 and MG will be the real big areas to watch for, particularly at the restart. If they can get a good run on the cars ahead of them, then it's going to be pretty dicey, as we see the Batsios Harold's car we've handed over from Dad. Hopefully he can get a good run and keep improving on what he's been doing as well.
Yeah, 8th position at the moment. Solid run from that team, and actually staying out did get them a little bit of track position. So the way the safety car fell for them, they stayed out that one lap, led a lap, and that has got them a little bit of gain through that whole process. So Chris Batsios will be up against Paul Stokel for position. So triple Australian Drivers Champion right behind him, but that'll be a great challenge for Chris. There is the Harold's car just coming past with the Audi just behind. So the scene is set, and we joked at the start that it felt like a sprint race. Well, it is now, because there's 12 minutes to go, and the BMW safety car will go to pit lane, and young Elliott Shute from West Australia, who, having taken over from Jackson Evans, finds himself leading in front of a very, very competitive field. That's the shot and the view from the Audi Custom Sport Racing, Lee Stimation Engineering, the cars down there. Elliott goes early. That answers the first part of the question. The exit of the final corner, we're back to racing at the island with 11 minutes and 40 seconds on the clock. Shute, Miles immediately attacks and gets down the inside of the car that's out of position, Sergio Perez for Valmont Racing. So Miles needs to get after Elliott Shute and battle for the win. Stephen Grove is third in the Grove Hire car. Then back to Brad Schumacher. Mark Sini in the Hallmark car is out of position. He's an AM class car, he's 15th on the road and needs to be cleared by these guys. This is for position. Liam Talbot on Brad Schumacher, 1 and 2 in the championship. That is crucial from a points point of view. Remember, we're playing the long game here from a title point of view as well.
That was an important pass by Talbot to get past Schumacher early at this safety car restart, and then gets around Sergio Perez as well. So Perez is doing a nice job here, to be fair, getting out of the way of the outright race leaders to allow them to continue on, as Schumacher still finds himself behind that Valmont Audi. So now Talbot ranging up on the back of Stephen Grove. This is for third place, and Talbot really using this opportunity at the safety car restart to make some gains.
And big story, leader of the AM class, Ash Samadi, car 22, pit lane penalty for speeding in pit lane. So the AM class leader will have to serve a drive-through, and 40 seconds will vanish from his race, plus the time you lose going in and out of the lane. So that will then hand the lead of that class to Garth Walden, who cycles his way through to 10th position. Big, big moments. The little moments can turn into big results in this kind of racing, and that's what's happened to Ash Samadi. So Shute, 1.3 seconds over Tim Miles now. Liam Talbot up to third, 2 spots gained on the restart. Stephen Grove next, then Brad Schumacher, then Mark Rosser in the BRM Audi, who's being chased by Peter Hackett He'll back himself in here to get that car up towards the podium. And this now for second on the road. Liam Talbot, and contact on the run to turn 3. But the Ferrari gets through the Audi, which has been punched around a little bit today. And it's now an Arise Racing 1 and 2 as it was at the start of the race. This time it's car 8 in front of car 1.
You're right, Richard Crail. Car 7's had more hits than Elvis. Remember that contact between Brendan Leach and Jaden Ojeda early, and they thought they may even had to come to the lane because of a tyre rubbing on bodywork. It shedded rear bodywork. Now contact with the Ferrari. That car will be okay. Actually, GT3 car's quite robust. You can go wheel to wheel and bang wheels like that, but Miles not getting up to speed like the others, and we resume Ferrari 1-2. The positions are swapped, but Sam Brabham picked it. He picked Liam Talbot was going to be the one to go forward, and he's really taking his opportunity here in the first 2 laps after the safety car restart, and he's ranging up on the back of Elliott Chute too, so don't be surprised that the battle between the 2 Ferraris is not resolved yet either.
And just a little bit of housekeeping for you. We talked about that drive-through penalty. We were talking earlier about messages we've never seen on the timing screen. We've just seen that penalty withdrawn. So the stewards have overruled the race control decision, have withdrawn the drive-through for Ash Samadi. Regardless, he's already dropped 2 spots in that AM class battle, so he's back to 12th. So they clearly went back and had a look at that and judged that he didn't, in fact, speed in pit lane. However, car 38 has a driving infringement penalty. That's the Aston Martin that turfed the Mercedes into a spin at MG. So that's just a full stop on that. And now we find the 2 Arise Racing teammates lockstep. Elliott Chute defending from Liam Talbot. How does this team play this out? What do you do, Garth Tander, team boss, if you're on the radio to these 2?
Well, I mean, GT racing is different to, say, Formula 1, for example, where you have 2 genuine teammates. These cars are painted the same and they have the same stickers on them, but there's 4 drivers that are only interested in their own result. So, for me, you have to manage that. So, your first rule is no contact. Second rule is race very, very hard, but don't disadvantage the other car. If Liam Talbot's good enough to get past, get past. But Elliott Chute does not need to open the door and let Liam Talbot through.
Some brain power down there in Arise Racing. BD Suter Dawson with the beanie on, engineering the Elliott Chute car. Adam DeBore engineering the number 1 Chaz Mostert Liam Talbot car. Jackson Evans just watching on nervously. He can't do anything now. Jake Claridge next to them, former Australian karting champion as well.
So this is where your race engineer turns into your biggest cheerleader. So DeBore is going to be on the radio to Liam Talbot saying, "You're good, mate. You're faster. You're faster. Get the job done." And if you're BD Suter Dawson, you're on to Elliott Chute saying, "Mate, you are as good as this guy. Go and get your first race win." Look at the marble. There's been some excitement down there we didn't see. So the leader's first to deal with it. There's more gravel out of the gravel trap than in it. One right now. So there's going to be a whole heap of cheerleading on the radio right now by their respective car engineers, telling them that they are the man, that they can get it done, regardless whether you're in car 8 or car 1.
6 minutes plus a lap to go down the inside. This is for 3rd place. Oh, there's almost no room down there for Grove, who showed the nose to Tim Miles. These 2 have been racing each other in one-make Porsches for a very, very long time. They've swapped it up to Audi and Mercedes now, and through all of that, Brad Schumacher, desperate to find a way past for their championship, knowing that Liam Talbot is out in front of this race, and Mark Ross has latched onto the back of it, and Peter Hackett's latched onto the back, and Paul Stokel's just set the fastest lap for car 181, and he's cruising up to them as well.
So it's not resolved 1st to 2nd, and it's not resolved 3rd to about 12th right now. So this battle pack, Tim Miles is the cork in the bottle right now, and we saw Stephen Grove have a big look at turn 4 last time round, so he'll be lining up for another one of those. And Mark Rosser, who is having a breakout weekend, has got to the rear bumper of Brad Schumacher, and Schumacher looks more vulnerable to Rosser than he does attacking Grove right now.
28.7 for Chute, 28.8 for Liam Talbot. Miles in the 29s, and everyone else behind him as well, because they're all bottled up behind that black and silver Audi, looking for another podium finish. Would be their 4th of the season potentially if they can hold on. Tim drove the defensive race of his life back here in April this year to get a race win for he and Brendan Leach.
Oh, Hackett!
Big moment from Hollywood.
That was so close to turning sideways right into Sergio Perez. And Hackett got away with that one. We've seen plenty of cars run wide on the exit of 2. The wind direction effectively just pushing the cars off the track as they try and pick the throttle up early for the run down to turn 3. Elliott Chute now It's just starting to open that gap. So he's done a nice job. He's settled down. He's absorbed that pressure from Liam Talbot, put his head down, and just starting to open the gap.
Drive-through penalty, car number 7. That's the Audi for a pit stop infringement. This is Peter Hackett.
Oh, and right there, when it turned sideways and almost bottomed out on the curb as he rejoined, I thought he was going to be a door ornament in Sergio Perez's Audi. Luckily, Pete's got plenty of experience and able to catch that one. Richard Craill asked us earlier, didn't he, Sam Brabham, whether what's going to happen, is it going to stay the same? Answer being?
It certainly didn't. It certainly didn't. I mean, the drive-through for Miles, potentially, we're not sure what that's for at the moment, but could shift this battle between Grove and Schumacher into that last podium spot as well. And it's interesting to see where Talbot's he's probably just assessing at the moment. 4 minutes left. He hasn't got a huge amount of time to finish this race and get ahead for the lead. So Schute's going to have to really push hard to try and keep Liam behind him. And you can see him starting to close up a little bit through a couple of those sectors. But they're doing very similar lap times that last lap, almost identical.
And just an update from race control, the penalty for car 7, the engine on and the wheels were spinning while the car was stopped in the lane. So up
did a tyre change on that car, so that's added another degree of difficulty to the pit stop that doesn't often happen in GT racing. So as a result of car 7 changing tyres and maybe the clutch not engaging properly, that's got an automatic clutch in the Audi effectively, so whether there's some wear in the clutch and that was turning, but it's caught car 7 out, they will have to serve a drive-through penalty.
The iron hand of justice busy at the moment because car 44's just got a pit lane speed penalty, so that's the Sergio Perez Audi. So their Sunday curse continues. Have a look at this. Miles is going to get to pit lane soon. Everyone bottled up behind it. Paul Stokel's been the one to watch in all of this because the OnlyFans Audi has been blazing a path through and he's got himself up to 7th place.
Oh, so Miles didn't come this lap. So Stephen Grove, the call would have gone to Stephen Grove. You don't need to pass that car. They have a penalty. But he probably wants to pass that car just so he can get on with it. Yeah. So he can get away from this pack behind. So
have a look at this. So Stokel with a great run. Ross is in there as well. The Audi R8 Cup. And around the outside, Mark Rosser. Big commitment to do that. Look, they're 2x2 down there at turn 2. Everyone caught up behind the Aston, which has just come out of the lane. Brad Schumacher all the way down the outside, but too wide. It's so dirty offline. He's just going to hang on to it, though. Ross is buying into this. Stokel's actually lost a spot through all of that. They're still boxing on. Grove's still trying to attack the Miles car. The Aston now getting out of the way down at the hairpin. Ross is struggling to hang on to his thing. It was dancing around under brakes.
Darren Curry.
Oh, a big moment again, the Merc. This has been a tough race for Peter Hackett.
Dan Curry is just like, what is this lot on? Just let me get out of pit lane and get on with my race, thank you. But ultimately gets through Hackett again. Man, that Triple Eight car's had some excitement in both races over the course of this weekend. So up over Lukey Heights again. You can see they've been defending every lap over here. So Miles defends, Grove defends, Rosser half defends. Stokel's going to try and go all the way around the outside. Now this lap, does Tim Miles come to pit lane? Rosser now looking racy. Schumacher was going to have a look up the inside. Now Miles hasn't come to the lane again. Remember yesterday, this car had radio issues. Brendan Leach didn't get told to manage the tyre. They had a tyre failure. Have they got radio issues again in the 7? Because that, from my count, has been 3 laps. That car has gone past pit entry.
Yeah, and sure as anything, Tim Miles is not looking at the flag stand at the start-finish straight because his rear-view mirror is filled with an angry... Schumacher's gone! Wow, turn 1. Stokel off the road, Hackett avoids it, everyone takes evasive action, Garth Walden squeezes through. That is a massive moment from a championship point of view and a race point of view as well.
Wow, were they lucky to get away with that without further contact, spinning between turn 1 and turn 2, not making contact. So what happens here? Schumacher just gets out wide, tries to pull the car tight, and around it goes. Stokel wants nothing to do with that. Hackett around the outside, didn't know which way to go. And then right here, Garth Walden just gets through. Alex Gardner's had an exciting race already. And Brad Schumacher's, I do not want to parallel park on the apex of turn 2. Thank you very much. Take a breath. We're going again. Lukey Heights. Tim Miles leads Stephen Grove. Mark Rosser. And then a big gap now with Schumacher out of this pack. Back to Paul Stokel. Defend. Attack for Rosser.
they're a real shot at a podium here, the ACMF car. On the podium yesterday with Alex Peroni, Mark Rosser, it was a brilliant drive. And they've done a superb job today. One of the more unheralded performances BRM this season in what they've done with that Audi with Mark and Alex behind the wheel. So can they engineer a way past the Grove car? The Miles car stays out. I reckon they're arguing this, and I think they might be willing to cop a penalty post-race, if only to get across the line and then go upstairs and argue their point with it in race control afterwards. So Melbourne Performance Centre, who run the Audi Customer Sport Racing Australia program, will be on. The clock has ticked to 0, so we're not far away from the end of this. Elliot Shute continues to hold on, looking for his first win in the championship with Jackson Evans. Liam Talbot, championship leader, knows that if he finishes where he is, not only will it be a 1-2 result for Arise Racing, it will also be an extension of his championship lead. Third place, very much yet to be decided.
So there's a notice board amongst all the race control and the teams and SRO, and it's lit up by all the teams saying, well, isn't car 7 meant to serve a drive-through penalty? Melbourne Performance Centre have asked, we have requested clarification. Now the Aston Martin again finds itself in the gravel, this time on the exit of Siberia.
It won't matter because the checkered flag will fly. And what a performance for Arise Racing. They've come back to Phillip Island. It's a 1-2 result and a first win for Elliot Shute and Jackson Evans.
Car 7 will come to the line third on the track, but they will argue this one in race control for a few hours post-race.
The world's biggest asterisk next to car 7 in the result sheet of that one. Stephen Grove across the line next. Mark Rosser, Paul Stokel, Peter Hackett, who is going to have to go and have a lie down after everything he's experienced today. And the AM-class win is going to go the way of Garth Walden. And now Garth got to the back of that massive battle pack at the end of the race. So he wins AM-class with Mike Sheargold. 8th outright in the end. Brad Schumacher, after the world's biggest lose at the exit of turn 1, crosses the line in 9th. That's a big blow for their championship. Ross Polakis buried in the sand. We actually heard that tortured squeal of Pirelli's. We didn't see it happen live. That's at Siberia on the exit of the corner. The beautiful view in his rear view camera. And then the trophy class for the second time is going to go the way of Scott Taylor and Paul Morris. So after a win yesterday, they're going to get another one. And after what was just a little cameo at Queensland Raceway, it's turned out to be a very productive year for Scotty and the dude.
Very happy scenes in the Arise Racing Garage. Another 1-2 for this team. These cars and this team have been very, very strong at Phillip Island. They were earlier in the year, and they've picked up right where they left off last time we were at Phillip Island.
Oh, deep breath.
Exactly.
Wowee. A 1-2 for Ferrari. Jackson Evans and Elliot Shute get their first win of the season. 6th different winner from 8 races this year. That is a remarkable strike rate. Tim Miles and Brendan Leach are being shown on our timing screen a penalty, so 40 seconds is going to drop them down to about 12th place. So we suspect provisionally Stephen Grove and Brenton Grove are going to be 3rd at the end there. Rosser and Peroni, really solid weekend for the BRM crew. Stokel and Renee Gracie, that's a great fighting drive from them towards the end. AM-class victory goes the way of Garth Walden and Mike Sheargold. Well done to them. Brad Schumacher will be ruining that big moment. And second in AM will be Theo and James Kandura. So consistent run from the Canberrans. Ash Samadi slipped to 3rd at the end there, but another podium for him. And then Scott Taylor and Paul Morris round out the winners in the trophy class. This championship is outrageous with just a couple of races to go. And it's great sport. You go into each race not knowing who is going to win, and you can't ask for anything more than that, really, can you? Highlights of Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS. A sneaky little look up the inside there by Jackson Evans on his teammate Chaz Mostert, but wasn't turned too busy on the opening lap of this one.
So they were so tightly packed, and I was actually just trying to catch the replay and see if I could see how the 888 car went around early in this one. Then this was a big moment for the Ojeda Latifi car and the Aston Martin. They went around. Ojeda already had steering drama with contact with the back of Brendan Leach. And then unfortunately, the Aston Martin got caught and went around. That brought out the safety car, bunched the field up, and they went to war again at the front of the field. Pro drivers still aboard the cars at this stage. Unfortunately, contact between the Aston Martin of Darren Curry and Shane Woodman, which was leading the Pro-Am class at that stage, or the Am class at that stage, brought out the safety car again. Leaders pitted and took their compulsory pit stops. Race control let them achieve that under this safety car. That bunched the field right up, and then it got real exciting for the run home.
Am drivers left to do the job with what turned out to be a 14-minute sprint race. And you could say it delivered, I think. They worked their way past the Valmont racing car pretty quickly. Tim Miles was running second there. Gobbled up by Liam Talbot, championship leader in car number 1, to set up that 1-2 for Arise Racing. But then she all teed off, and this was huge. Brad Schumacher at high walk factor on the exit of turn 1. Paul Stoker was off in the gravel trap as well. Peter Hackett, for about the 15th time today, taking evasive action from someone else's drama. But then a 1-2 result, a crushing 1-2 for the Ferraris and Arise Racing. But this time it was car 8 in front of car 1. Here's Cam with the winners.
Thanks, Kralsey. Very quickly, congratulations, Jackson Evans. I'll let Elliot get his hat on. Come on, we've got to get the Pirelli hat on, mate. Got to do the job. There we go. First race win for this car this year. Congratulations.
Yeah, no, thanks very much. It's obviously great to get our first race win together. Nice to finish 1-2 as well with the team. So, you know, it's a big team effort. Elliot drove great race. A lot of fun out there, and, you know, some changes this weekend, and they've paid off. So, yeah, really big thanks to the team, and thanks to this guy.
So, Elliot, how does that Pirelli first place cap feel, mate, especially with the pressure Liam Talbot put on towards the end?
Yeah, it feels bloody good. Very elusive, actually. Feels like a long time. But, yeah, thanks to Jackson, who did all the work, and I kind of just held on at the end. And thanks to the team for putting this together in what's a blink of an eye. So it's been awesome.
I was just going to say very quickly, take us through that. When you looked in the mirrors and saw Liam Talbot all over the back, what were the thoughts?
Not again. Yeah, it's, you know, when he's got his lights on in the back, it's always pretty daunting, but I was just trying to keep my eyes forward. There's a bit of gravel, so yeah, just trying to stay on the track, and with help from BD on the radio.
Well done, boys. I'm going to sneak through. This is mayhem down here. We'll try and sneak through to the boys from, there's Garth Walden out the back. Hold on, Garth, I'm coming. I'll get there eventually. Congratulations. Oops, sorry, I'm going to sneak in and grab the shot here. Guys, turn around. Camera right behind you. Well done. Firstly, we'll start with you. Great job.
Yeah, it wasn't too bad, mate. Sunday seems to be our day at the moment. It's 3 in a row in the last on Sunday in the last 3 rounds. So, yeah, the car was good in that race. Unfortunately, the safety cars played in their hands this time, where they didn't at Queensland. But, yeah, it wasn't a lot of racing laps. But, yeah, it's good to get the win.
Well done. Congratulations as well. Grab those sunglasses off. Let Australia see your face. Well done.
Thank you. That was a very good race. I dropped the spot at the start, and I knew if I could just kind of hold that position and hand it over to Garth and give him some decent track position relative to the other AM competitors, we'd be, you know, looking good. So played into our hands, and very happy.
Congratulations, boys. We'll see you on the podium.
Thank you.
Thanks, Cam. Yeah, it's busy down there. It looks like the grid at the start of the race. Garth Tander, Sam Brabham alongside me up here in the box as we surmise that one. Brabs, firstly, thanks for coming up. Really appreciate it. It's been a great story and a great part of the GT Festival this weekend to have you and your dad part of it. But just give us your closing thoughts on that one.
What a race, honestly. I mean, from pros to the AMs, right at the end there, we didn't know what was going to happen. You asked us to try and call it at the end, and I think none of us knew what was going to happen. But it's been a privilege to be here, and obviously for me and Dad to be racing on the same weekend, and thanks for having us both in the commentary box. We've loved it, and hopefully we can get him out here for another one in the future as well.
I think that has to happen, surely, Garth Tander.
I think we can try and make that happen, certainly, and it'd be great to see you both in the same car together. Wouldn't that be really, really cool? I thought Elliot Shute undersold his performance there when he was talking to Cameron Vanderdungen about the job that he did at the end there. Sort of said, oh, Jackson set it up for me, I had to drive it home. No. He had to deal with a very fast finishing Liam Talbot, and he got the job done. So nice relief for that car, and that's going to give him plenty of motivation going into the back half of the championship.
Let's go and celebrate this one. Here's Cam with the podium.
Welcome to the podium presentation for the Fanatec GT World Challenge, powered by AWS Sprint Cup. Presenting the trophies today, Ben McMillan on behalf of SRO Motorsports Australia. Please welcome the top 3 place cars for the Pro-Am class. In 3rd place, Brenton Grove and Stephen Grove from Grove Racing. In second place, Chaz Mostert and Liam Talbot for Arise Racing GT. And in first place, Jackson Evans and Elliot Shute, Arise Racing GT. Ladies and gentlemen, your Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS Pro-Am winners. And now for the celebrations.
Well, a hard-fought win. 6 different winners from 8 races this season. The first time car 8 gets a win. It's a big, big result for Elliot Shute, who wins. Jackson Evans has been here before. His track record is well proven, but that is a huge result for Elliot, and that is going to be a massive confidence boost going into the final couple of rounds of this championship. Speaking of a championship scenario, this has been a massive weekend for car number 1. Got one on the door for a reason from the job that Liam Talbot did last year, but for he and Chaz Mostert, they've extended their margin at the top end of the Pro-Am standings by a good haul, because it was a pretty tough weekend for Will Brown and Brad Schumacher, and confirming that in the end, that 40-second penalty for the Tim Miles, Brendan Leach Audi has elevated the Groves up to 3rd place. So that's their best result since joining the Mercedes Brigade. Cam?
And now, please welcome the top 3 placed cars for the AM class. In 3rd place, Ash Samadi, Team MPC. In 2nd place, James Konduras and Theo Konduras, Superbarn Supermarkets, Tagani Motorsport. And in 1st place, Mike Sheargold and Garth Walden, Ram Motorsport, GWR Australia. Ladies and gentlemen, your Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS AM Class winners. And now for the celebrations.
Well done, Cameron, thank you. And we congratulate as well Scott Taylor and Paul Morris for winning the Trophy Class 2. What a weekend it's been at Phillip Island. We certainly hope you've enjoyed all the action. On behalf of Jonathan Simon, Cameron van der Dungen and Garth Panda, thank you for joining us. What a weekend at the Island. Our coverage continues on the SRO GT World YouTube channel and the internet and our streams. Thank you for joining us all weekend. It's been a terrific show here at Phillip Island. We're going to celebrate our final podium for race 2 here at Phillip Island. Let's go back to Cameron.
Finally, please welcome the winners for the trophy class. In 2nd place, Valentino Astudi and Darren Curry for KMB Motorsport. And in first place, Paul Morris and Scott Taylor for Scott Taylor Motorsport. Ladies and gentlemen, your Fanatec GT World Challenge powered by AWS Trophy Class winners. And now for the celebrations.
Oh, well done to the dude and Scott Taylor. It was a little cameo at Queensland Raceway, and it's turned into 3 wins from 4 starts. Richard Crowell and Garth Tander still with you here on SRO's GT World YouTube channel. Man, what a weekend. This is blockbuster stuff, isn't it, this championship, and there's still so many storylines to play out.
Yeah, I thought the 4 races across the GT4 Championship and GT3 were fantastic to watch. The Ferraris in Fanatec GT3 clearly love Phillip Island. They've got their head around this place, and the drivers are driving it well. So they're loving being here, but really interesting to see how they'll go at Sydney Motorsport Park and then ultimately at Bathurst in the events to come.
Nice week this weekend, mate. Good stuff. Thank you, Garth. On behalf of our entire team that's put this production together, we'll see you at the next round of Fanatec GT World Challenge.